Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With the latest WWE edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and it's a 2 for Tuesday. That is the worst radio voice the Silver King can possibly do, but we have not one, but 2 episodes of performance-enhancing audio making its way into your ear holes, all inside of this one day. Opening the morning was the 2025 Getting Over Awards, aka
the Meaties.
As Silver King, Vintage, and all of you are Getting Overheads provided honors to the best and brightest, worst and dimmest from professional wrestling in 2025. Make sure you listen to that episode. You don't have to listen to it before this one, but just make sure you listen before the week is out. On this afternoon episode of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, we will be breaking down everything that happened in the world of WWE over the last week. Not only was there a massive headline coming out of SmackDown in Berlin on Friday, but Raw in Dusseldorf was fantastic as well. But as we get started, as always, Silver King does need to remind you that this show
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King, Vintage, and Getting Over. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. When you subscribe to YouTube, you can listen to our episodes and you can watch full-length video interviews. No matter where you want to find us, ensure you do it at Getting Overcast. Now, as we get into this WWE episode, I did promise all of you last week some fun housekeeping announcements, and we do have a few of them before this show gets off the ground. First, for those of you who voted in the Meaties, you saw a question about a discussion forum where listeners and followers can not only talk about the show itself, but wrestling in general, whether we should create one for you. This has been something that multiple listeners and followers have been asking about for years. The majority of you voted to have one, no matter the medium, and while more did prefer Discord than Slack, I will admit, Slack's the app of my choice. It's a lot easier for me to do, so that's what's happening. And do you know why that's what's happening?
This is my show. My show.
So the good news is the Slack is already set up, and the invitation link is on our social media profiles under our link tree. Just click the link in our profiles, whether it's Twitter or Blue Sky at Getting Overcast. Click the Slack button, and you will be taken to the invitation where you can sign up and join the Getting Over Slack. The rooms are already set up. Each of them has a different purpose. Make sure you read about what the purpose is, and we will have moderators keeping everything straight. If you have reached out to us before about moderating some type of discussion forum for us, please make sure you reach out to us again. We definitely want your help. We need to keep everything straight and narrow. The goal is for this to be a fun community that is welcoming to all. No one should be insulted or driven off or anything like that. It's all about big, meaty men slapping meat.
Big, meaty men slapping meat. That's what I want.
And believe it or not, that actually brings me into the other 2 announcements that we have. Back in October, one of our listeners and Blue Sky followers, Katie, and I want you to remember that this is Katie who made this suggestion. She told us how much she loves
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
And the way that we respectfully appreciate women on this show. And she basically suggested that we create the Hey Now Championship. To which I thought, wouldn't it be hysterical if that was a real thing? An ongoing battle on the show where every time someone gets
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
We're putting them head to head with the reigning Hey Now champion to determine who holds the mantle at any given time. So that's exactly what we're going to do live on the show every single time that button is pressed in 2026, and whomever emerges will be the Hey Now champion at year's end. In fact, the concept works so well There will be 2 ongoing titles here at Getting Over. The other, you guessed it.
Big meaty man slapping meat. That's what I want.
It's what we want to see, and it's what we're going to honor. Identical concept. Every time we play the drop, we will discuss head-to-head which moment or match was meatier. And the title can change hands as often as necessary through the end of the year, all of it culminating at the 2026 Getting Over Awards, a.k.a.
The Meaties.
So I think we can probably utilize Slack to help us keep track of all this. This adds a couple fun elements to the show. Chris, what do you think about all of these enhancements to the Getting Over Wrestling podcast?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Now that I'm pretty much out of football season, I've got more time. I've always wanted to try to find other ways to interact with listeners on places that are other than just, Twitter and whatnot. So hopefully that'll be a better way to do that. And as for the championships, it makes a lot of sense. Are we starting with champions, or are we going to do whoever won the media award, or with the last one we did? Who starts as champion?
No, these titles are vacant, and
Okay.
I am under the impression that before today's show is out, we will have our first champion in one category, not both, and that will then carry through to the end of 2026. That's how I see this going.
Okay. I think we should also, maybe one of the Slack channels, maybe one of them can just be used to keep that updated.
For
so
sure.
You don't need to track it every time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're going to have to remember who is holding the title at any given point. But my assumption is that this is going to be an ingrained part of the show. So it's going to be easy not to forget. Like, we're dropping those, drops every episode for the most part. And if not, then it only goes 2 weeks between. So it shouldn't really be that difficult. But it's going to be up to you and I live on the show to decide. And I have a feeling there will be situations in which the listeners disagree with us. And if that happens, then we can always come on the next episode and make a change because, everyone else demands it. But this is going to be Silver King and Vintage largely making these determinations. And certainly people who are in our Slack, because we'll be able to check that regularly. There is a Hey Now channel over there, but a respectful Hey Now channel. Let me be extremely clear about that.
Yes.
Very respectful. I'm sure there will be nominations and submissions for that, for big meaty men slapping meat moment that we're going to have conversations here on the show about. I'm hoping that it is an extremely active Slack channel, and us starting that up is something that is going to enhance our audience and make everyone feel a little bit more of community here, because I know there's a lot of listeners, many of whom we shout out on the show regularly, but there's not really a way for everyone to talk to each other. And this is an idea that will hopefully work. And my hope also, I know some people use, I don't know what the Microsoft equivalent, Teams. I know some of you use Teams out there, but I think a lot of people who are working do use Slack. You and I both do for our careers. This I was able to do separate from my Slack account for work. But I'm in the app all the time. So I'm used to having it on my work phone. I figure, well, I might as well have it on my personal phone, and I'll talk to people on there. So Vintage and Silver King, we're both part of Slack. We will be heavily involved in the Hey Now Championship, the Big Meaty Championship, whatever we end up calling it. And tracking for both of those starts on this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. I do want to reiterate before we continue that you and I are both extremely proud of the award show we put on every year. So just one last reminder, already in the podcast feed.
The 2025 Getting Over Awards, a.k.a.
Now, if those voices sound different, that's because they are Brett, Coda, and Lennon, listeners, a father and his children, who sent that clip in specifically for us to hear, just to pop. Vintage and Silver King, they had no idea, of course, it was going to get on the show, but I wanted to make sure that they could hear their voices on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. And Brett wrote in, he said, "I can't thank you enough for the show and all the time and effort you put into it every week. I listen regularly in the car with my kiddos, and I noticed the last episode, every time you guys say 2025 Getting Over Awards, they both say the Meaties. So I recorded it and I wanted to share it with you." Brett, I absolutely love it. Coda and Lennon, hello. Thank you for listening. Sorry for some of the Rock's bad language. That's all on Dwayne Johnson, Silver King and Vintage. We only speak in the cleanest language here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Oh, and by the way, Coda and Lennon, and I guess Brett too, we acknowledge you.
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge. Big acknowledgement right there.
Acknowledge.
That was very cute. I appreciate him sending that in. Very cool.
It was awesome indeed. Now we have a ton of show left, a massive main event, a bunch to break down in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
but I'm afraid I've got some news.
There are a few items to touch right off the top of the show. First, AJ Styles is going to be appearing on TNA Thursday Night Impact, making its debut on AMC this week. I feel like people might miss that, so I just wanted to shout it out. And again, congratulations to TNA for getting that TV deal. That is happening on Thursday. For what seems like the third straight year, Logan Paul announced he has signed a new deal with WWE that makes him a full-time wrestler. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he said a year ago, and then he didn't work full-time until the end of the year. But since then, to his credit, he has basically appeared on TV every single week. So maybe he misspoke a year ago, or maybe he thought he was going to be there more often than he actually was. Anyway, it does seem like he's all the way in. And so far, the results have been more positive, as we've discussed previously. He's taken a bit of a backseat in the vision, and he feels like an actual part of the roster, as opposed to a guy who comes in, says the same thing, gets a match he doesn't deserve, and usually loses.
Yeah, I think he's probably learning a lot of things just by sitting in the background. And there's segments where he doesn't even say anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's just standing there, and it's like, okay, that is, normally we would like complain about that or something like that, but it's the complete opposite of what he was doing. So he's starting to put in the relative work, so to speak, and we'll see where it goes.
We will indeed. Closing the loop on Kit Wilson working by himself on SmackDown last week, it appears Elton Prince underwent a level 2 neck fusion surgery more than 6 months after initially being injured. I presume that means they hoped it would heal on its own, but it did not. I know nothing about neck injuries. I'm just kind of speculating. Either way, it all makes much more sense now. That's at least a year until they reevaluate him. And even if he's able to come back, you're talking about training, ring rust, all that stuff. Makes it even more important that Wilson had a successful re-debut last week. So congratulations to him individually. And of course, best wishes for Elton Prince in his recovery. SmackDown on Friday. Got to tell you, it felt more like a show in Lafayette, Louisiana than Berlin, Germany. Not only was the crowd surprisingly dead for large swaths of the show, WWE struggled with its production every single time it went backstage. They fixed some of it when the USA Network broadcast went on. They were able to change the audio levels and stuff. But it was a real poor viewing experience. Now, there was a snowstorm in Berlin, so sure, the show would have been more full. And generally, when people are at shows and there's bad weather, they're not as boisterous as they normally are. But the crowd was trash compared to basically every other European crowd that we have seen and heard for the last few years. Furthermore, while Friday was still a better show than what we got over the second half of 2025, for me, it was a significant step backward from last week's awesome episode, even with a massive main event. So coming out of SmackDown, you and I were optimistic on last week's episode. This week, the final result we'll talk about, obviously, and that was juiced. That juiced Silver King up a little bit. But the show as a whole, I was like, man, I don't know that I can get through 3 hours of this every week.
Yeah, the sound was a mess, both in the ring, backstage, the levels. Trying to hear what people were saying was surprisingly difficult. And it's like, I don't know if it's possible that played into poor miking of the crowd, and that's why we couldn't hear much of them. And because it was on delay, did WWE mess with the levels to raise and lower certain things? I don't know, but the sound for that show was a mess, and it was very distracting. And it was an eventful show. Like, stuff happened, but it didn't feel maybe as big as we expected, simply because of the crowd. Really.
Yeah, 2 SmackDowns ago felt fresh, and this felt more like a rehash of that episode plus a title match. When I wanted more freshness, I wanted that feeling to continue, and it just didn't necessarily continue. Meanwhile, Monday, Raw in Dusseldorf opened with Pyro. That helped so much, I thought, with the energy level of the crowd initially. I know it's a somewhat unnecessary expense, but man, how much money WWE and TKO make, I don't understand why they aren't pulling out Pyro at the start of every major TV show in the United States, as long as the venue allows it.
Because we have to watch people walking into the arena with their suitcases as hip hop music plays, because that's what gets the people going, I guess.
You can do both. Have them walk in, and then you cut to the arena and you play the Pyro.
Yeah, Pyro to start a show is one of the easiest things in the book. They haven't done it for a long time. It's always kind of been weird.
You have all these NFL teams doing these stupid intros where like someone's banging a drum or lighting a torch and the crowd gets going. WWE doesn't have to do any of that. They have to hit a button, and then little flashies go up in the air, and everyone screams and yells. That's all you have to do. Just hit a button. That's it. It's so easy. Spend the money. I guess that's the other part of it. By the way, I do want to take this opportunity here at the beginning of the show to remind you,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, for $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Please support us as we support you. Realize we're asking you to give us a little bit of money. It keeps the lights on here, and it allows us to continue providing you with performance-enhancing audio. Plus, you get some extra stuff too. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. All right, that was the news of the week. As I said already a couple times, we have a metric ton of stuff to get to on this episode from Raw and SmackDown, and we're getting to it right now as we slide into the main event.
This is the main event.
You know, for the first time in a long time, this is going to be a single, extended topic main event, everything revolving around the WWE Championship. Damian Priest backstage admitted that he's hurting coming out of the ambulance match, which means he won the war. Priest said that he's going to be the next guy calling his shot for the WWE Championship, please no. And he was sure that victory put him on a road to meet Cody Rhodes for the title. Drew McIntyre confronted him, considering those words, and while Priest admitted McIntyre did have a chance to win the championship, he reminded that it was he, Priest, who won their feud. Drew then took over the segment, revealing that he stole Dusty Rhodes' gold Rolex from the tour bus. He predicted that Cody will get disqualified in the first fall, leaving him only needing to win one of the final two to take the title. Matt Cardona later told Rhodes directly he would also be coming after the WWE title. You could probably sense my rage boiling while watching this segment, that WWE not only put Priest and McIntyre together on TV, but astonishingly had Damian remind everyone that he beat Drew in their feud, just like he beat Aleister Black, ahead of a WWE Championship match, in which you're looking at this guy saying he might be the new person leading this brand. I'm sitting there thinking, like, did you really need to hit us over the head with the fact that you book Priest too strong and book McIntyre too weak? And do you really expect us to get excited for a potential McIntyre title reign if it means going back to a Priest feud? It was clearly an effort to subvert expectations, but come on. By the way, Priest promo was terrible, zero confidence. He's just saying words that he's supposed to say. I don't get what they're doing with him. Sometimes I wonder if the people making these decisions bother to think through what they put on paper. And then Drew pulls out Dusty's Rolex. And Chris, this speaks exactly to what you were saying last week. That is a far more sentimental and valuable item to destroy or steal than a printed picture of a father and son when you assume that Cody has other copies. And it ironically continued McIntyre's random obsession with jewelry. But the watch had already been used in kayfabe as a gift WWE gave to Cody after winning the title. So unlike the picture, it was actually relevant, even if you want to burn the picture. Shouldn't they have used both of them last week to taunt him? I have your dad's watch and this picture. I'm burning this and I'm going to keep this. Why would you introduce the watch an hour before the match when it could have been a storyline the entire week? I know I'm not crazy here. I assume you agree with me.
Well, yeah, it's because they didn't have it fully planned out when they did it, and so they added something late in the process. And by the way, I would like to thank the several listeners who DM'd me and said that they agreed with me last week about how weird it was that security was holding Cody back to let Drew burn the picture.
I want to make it clear. I saw one tweet about that. So
no,
several
DMs. I got several. No, I got like 4 or 5 DMs from listeners on my own.
Private,
unannounced. Matt T. Sable was one. I got a couple of them here. So anyway, but it did feel like a whoops. We need to add a little bit more to this, so let's do the watch, and they just decided to do that this week.
What did you think about jamming Priest into the whole thing?
I didn't like it, but as we're going to get to, they jammed a ton into what's next with the title because everything is suddenly crammed for time because of the way that they planned this.
So you looked at it more about that than about putting him next to McIntyre.
Yes. In hindsight, based on what else we have to talk about, I realized, okay, this is about getting a bunch of people into something.
Yeah.
But I didn't love the timing of it. I would have loved it a week from now, but they didn't have time.
That's fair. And to reiterate for any new listeners, I generally give my takes, and you do too. You usually answer them in terms of how we felt when the segment ended.
Right.
Because we go in order of everything that happened on the show. So you're right, in hindsight, it wasn't as annoying. But in the moment, I was like, are we really putting McIntyre and Priest together on screen again and reminding people that this number one contender lost a feud to this guy who's, I was going to say sucks. He doesn't suck, but his booking has been terrible and he hasn't lived up to expectations is probably the best way to say. I like Damian Priest a lot, so I don't want to disparage him in any way. Cut backstage to Sami Zayn. He said while he's rooting for Cody because he's a great guy and a great champion, he might actually prefer to fight Drew for the title given their history.
Thank you.
I've only been saying this for the better part of a year. That's all. Zayn ultimately gave his prediction for the match at the end of the segment, and it sounded like he was going to pick McIntyre, but after hesitating for a bit, he said Rhodes. This was the first time I thought, you know what? They might actually pull the trigger here. What about you?
Yeah, back to the original booking we had way back when, which was a Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
If Drew's going to win the title, who's he going to face? Sammy winning a Rumble there, like it makes a lot of sense. So if we're going to get back to that, they have replanted those seeds.
Exactly. And then finally, Cody backstage before the match acknowledged Drew holding the Rolex, saying it was a cheap and lazy way to get in his head, which McIntyre will figure out just like others when he's looking up at the lights. Rhodes set his sights on the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. At first, I was going to criticize this because Cody has twice now gotten so infuriated at Drew for putting Dusty's name in his mouth. How could he now say that stealing a Rolex, and I don't know if it's a date just or a day date, but you're talking something that's at least, $10,000, possibly way, way more than that. And it was his father's watch. How can that not anger him when the picture angered him, right? Then I realized the whole point was that Rhodes was trying to convince himself that it didn't matter, even though it actually did. So I found it to be a quite well done segment, as long as Cody lost the title in the main event, because then here he's convincing himself that he's not going to get dragged down, and ultimately he does get dragged down and drops the strap. That was my thought after this was over.
Same. I was like, wait, why are we not freaking out after you freaked out about everything? But I think we're at the match now. He's kind of focused in. It was fine.
Right. So the WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes defending against Drew McIntyre, 3 stages of hell. SmackDown got a commercial-free final hour, which was necessary. And this segment started with just under 40 minutes remaining. There was a top-tier extended video package recapping their feud before it began. Set this bar for 2026 video packages.
Yes, and it was a rock video.
It was
like a hard rock video that I love this. It was really good, and I was like, man, there was some of this in the story that they hadn't really told, or that they hadn't told in a long time. I forgot that Drew and Cody were tag team champions back in the day and following each other's paths, and some of the stuff that they got into, months ago before the feud went on a pause. I was like, oh yeah, like there was a lot we could have really gotten into instead of doing the Dusty stuff at the end, which felt kind of cheap.
Or
so
not even instead, just in addition. Like they should have been talking about that at the beginning of their feud and then gotten to this,
Like this should have been part of the go home promo between them, just kind of recapping their history and all that kind of stuff and setting the stage. And it wasn't really much about that. When they're I was like, I forgot there's such a good story here. Like I just simply had forgotten because it had been so long since I told this. And I have to shout out, the song used in this video was from a song by Disturbed, I Will Not Break, or something like that. And that song was used in a edit by someone I follow on Twitter, CV Highlights 247. He used that song to an Elimination Chamber video he made a couple months ago. And I was just thinking, I wonder if WWE saw that and used that song from it. I don't know, but just a little thing for someone who loves these vignette packages and rock music. It was very well done.
Did you just shout out your burner account? Is that what happened?
It's not me. I swear to God. I mentioned the guy on this show once before.
Okay,
but does good wrestling videos.
I mean, that's a classic Attitude Era rock, video package that we got here. It was awesome. And awesome. I know, you like the rock stuff. I like the rap and hip hop stuff. But when it comes to video packages, the hard rock, it just hits different.
You need the intensity. It needs to feel violent.
You do, yeah. So Drew wore the Rolex to the ring, but obviously he took it off before the bell. McIntyre was clearly the babyface side at the start in Berlin. The referee at the bell was not the one he tore down a couple weeks ago. I still figured that dude could be a replacement ref later. After pulling off the turnbuckle pad, distracting the referee, McIntyre kicked Rhodes in the nuts and hit a Claymore to register the first decision in less than 4 minutes. Let me repeat that. Less than 4 minutes for the first fall in a commercial-free WWE Championship match that had more than 25 minutes left to run. That is such a pet peeve to do a fast fall in the first of a multi-stage match. A lot of wrestling companies do this, not just WWE. I hate it every time. I would rather the second fall be the fast fall. The first one takes 15 minutes. The guys are tired. They're beating each other. Someone gets a win. And then it's more sensible because they're so exhausted that the next one comes quickly. The person who won was off their guard or something like that. And then you get to the sudden death moment. Am I wrong?
No, I agree with you. But my biggest complaint here, and I didn't really get into it when they revealed the stages, a regular match is a stupid stage for a 3 stages of hell match. It is the literal definition of not hell. Like I
agree with that.
Annoyed me.
I would like it.
I get the psychology of it, but the idea of 3, like they showed, by the way, they showed like previous 3 stages of hell matches and some of the history between them. I love that. I was like, show us how rare these matches are and why it's a big deal this is happening. But it was also a reminder that I'm pretty sure none of them had regular
No,
matches
that's not true. No, many of them do.
Did they?
Yeah, it's unfortunately commonplace and it's frustrating because what it should be, the first stage should be something like a submission match or a belt match where like you can use a weapon, but it's only a belt. It should be something that is unique and not too hellacious, but gets your blood going a little bit. Then your second stage should be a falls count anywhere, no disqualification, street fight, whatever you want it to be. And then the third stage, yes, it should be a steel cage or a cell or a bull rope match or something that goes another step further when it comes to the violence. But you're right in that I hate when the first fall is just a regular match. But that is not unique here. That is extremely commonplace.
I would say the last one, the Cena Ryback one, that's the one I always think about because that's when I got back into wrestling. That was lumberjack, tables, ambulance.
See, like lumberjack is kind of weak too, if we're being completely honest. Like it's, but it's something.
It's better than a regular match.
It's something, right? I mean, this feud did not call for that by any means, but that's why I would go with submission or something that is not violent, but is still more extreme than a regular match rule situation, right? But what was even more frustrating than the non-stipulation was the fact that it was a super cheap win. So McIntyre's up 1-0, but he didn't earn it. So Drew almost immediately powerbombs Cody through a table ringside for a near fall. Fans start chanting, "Cody sucks." They went into the crowd and backstage fighting around a metal garage door and gratings underneath the fans. At one point, Cody randomly tried to shove a banana in McIntyre's mouth. I guess he didn't have enough potassium or something. The crowd finally started chanting for Rhodes, who put McIntyre on a table, climbed atop a vom, and just fell down stomach first for a splash through the table for a false finish. Then back ringside, Cody avoided a Claymore into the announce desk, and he instead hit Crossroads atop the table to register the second fall and even the match. So at this point, I'm thinking, wouldn't it have been better if the roles were reversed? Cody gets the cheap fall off a distraction to start. Drew gets in his head about being down 1-0, but McIntyre low blows Rhodes ringside, does the Claymore into the announce desk, and gets the fall. That would have been stronger for him. Instead, it's Drew getting a cheap win and Cody getting a decisive win. But Rhodes is the babyface champion, so I understand why they didn't do that. It's just we got 2/3 of the way through the match, and what they told us was that Drew can't beat Cody, but Cody can beat Drew.
I thought the jump off of the top through the table, that should have been the pin. Like that was so much bigger and cooler and more impactful than Crossroads through the table. All right, we got to do another one. Sure. I just thought that was a really cool physical hard. Like he just fell on him. Cody's a bit of a thicker guy, so they just boom when he landed on Drew. That should have been the pin. That nitpicky. They got it anyway.
Do you agree with the general?
That was the part of the segment that bothered me most. That should have been the pin.
Do you agree with the general point though that
I mean,
we're now
yeah,
two falls into
sort
the
of.
match.
Like,
We're now two falls into the match, and McIntyre really didn't earn one. The one he got came in 3 minutes and 40 seconds because of a low blow.
No, I mean, I don't think I wasn't thinking too much about the psychology of that all. I was more just annoyed it was because Drew has not looked strong in any of his booking for months and months and months, and then you give him a cheap win in a stupid stipulation for the first stage. I rolled my eyes at that. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Right. So now we're 2/3 of the way into the match, and it's like, well, if he's going to win the title, he needs to win decisively in the third stage. That's where my mind was. Okay. But I was enjoying the match. It was awesome. So the old school steel cage they promised, it was not the blue thick bars, but it was one of the more toned down silver designs. This started with 15 minutes left. McIntyre nearly escaped through the door right after it was lowered. He got brought back inside with a vertical suplex. Drew answered by pulling Cody down from over the cage inside with a superplex standing on the top rope. McIntyre then dodged Rhodes into the post, hit a future shock DDT. Cody got busted open hard way on the back of his head. Fans started giving him dual chants like he was John Cena. Well timed as he countered Drew perfectly into a crossroads for a false finish. McIntyre ate a Cody cutter. Cody landed 2 more crossroads, but Drew raked the eyes before taking a third, avoiding Cody into the unprotected turnbuckle. The referee never fixed it, despite allowing it to distract him in the first fall. McIntyre followed with Claymore for a false finish. Rhodes stopped McIntyre from escaping over the top by biting his calf. Then he flew from nearly the top of the cage for a super avalanche Cody cutter and an arm lift false finish. Drew similarly bit Cody's calf as he tried climbing out. And then they fell off the side of the cage crotch first. Then, after landing, as McIntyre went for the cage door coming off his spot, and it looked like he would actually make it out, to be fair. He would exit, he would win the title. A hooded man pushed the referee out of the way. Jacob Fatu unmasked himself and went right after McIntyre. Rhodes eventually pulled Fatu off, so Jacob went after Cody as well. And as they brawled in the corner, McIntyre fell out of the ring to become the new WWE champion.
But I want you to know this. I prayed for this and it happened.
Rhodes was obviously distraught. He hit Fatu one extra time after it was all over, basically taking out his frustration on him. And then you saw him soak in the disappointment as McIntyre celebrated on the ramp and SmackDown went off the air. I'm going to take this in 2 parts because I'm not sure there has been a better decision reached in more imperfect fashion. So first, I'm going to discuss the match and the booking, and then separately the finish. Stage 1 was annoyingly short and cheap for McIntyre. Stage 2 and 3, they were excellent. Old school, just laying it in type of wrestling. Cody did Dusty proud the way he worked that match. And Drew was undoubtedly his equal at every single phase. There were some terrific false finishes in each of the latter stages, especially inside the cage. And while McIntyre may not have looked strong getting wins, he looked strong avoiding losses. All of those kickouts inside the cage. The super avalanche Cody cutter was a thing of beauty. Rhodes going for a third crossroads and that costing him, needing to go for 3, of course, Chris, because that finisher don't beat nobody. That was a great callback to both Roman Reigns and I believe Cena in that match as well. McIntyre's claymores were perfection, and they sold everything extremely well for one another. It got to the point late in the match where I legitimately believed either guy could win, even if the expectation was that Cody would retain. And let me just repeat, based on this being a taped show in Europe so close to the Royal Rumble, I believe our pessimism was justified, even if we were ultimately in the last moment wrong. So what we have been told through 2 stages of this match is that McIntyre won cheap, Rhodes won by being better and more aggressive. So the score is 1-1, but Cody looks way better than Drew. Even so, the match was great enough that you can forget those first 2 falls and just remember that it's even. And then you get to the finish. Perhaps one of the weakest championship victories I can remember in a match that, based on its concept and its rules, should never finish in weak fashion. All done because heaven forbid Cody ever lose a match and be forced to take some stock in himself before climbing the mountain again. Sure, Cody played the morality role, and being moral cost him once again, just like he did when he didn't use the title against Cena. And sure, a Samoan, for the first time, inadvertently helped Drew, rather than cost him like Solo Sikoa and others have done previously. There's intriguing storyline aspects here. I will grant WWE that. But McIntyre winning the WWE title for the first time in 5 years by slipping out of the ring coming off a spot, not where he landed a Claymore and they started crawling out and therefore he had the advantage, but they both fell crotch first onto the top rope. He just happened to be a little bit closer to the door when he fell. How is that the way that you have McIntyre win the title when, again, he didn't even get a legitimate first fall over Rhodes? So he won 2-1 by cheating in a 4-minute regulation match and then falling out of the ring due to interference. I wouldn't have minded Jacob's return factoring in if Drew had gotten a solid fall earlier. But not only did he play a role again, McIntyre won the WWE Championship, the top title in this company, by falling out of a door. Not climbing out of the cage while they fought, not Fatu hitting Cody with his finisher, eating a Claymore, and McIntyre capitalizing for a pinfall, not Drew and Cody teaming up to take out Jacob, and then McIntyre catching Rhodes blind with a Claymore, taking advantage of the distraction. Those latter two concepts would have been so much better, by the way, because Cody would have his excuse, but at least Drew could say he pinned him twice. But no, he escaped through the door. It's the weakest way to win a title I could possibly imagine. I am thrilled they changed the championship. It was great how they swerved our expectations once Jacob showed up. I'm going to discuss his return in a moment. And McIntyre absolutely deserves his opportunity to be champion. Even with that frustrating first fall, they got 90% of the way to knocking this out of the park and changing the title in a surprise moment outside of a Big 2 PLE. But they flushed some of that positivity right at the end to the point that it took the climax out of the match because the fans were even a bit confused and they were distracted by Cody and Jacob fighting while Drew won. So I give this 4.25 stars and an A. I thought it had a chance to be an A+ match, but you can't touch that with a new champion based on the booking almost lucking into the title in the worst of the 4 possible finishes to a cage match. Pinfall, submission, escape over the top, all acceptable. Walking out the door, as Jesse Ventura would tell you, weak ass shit shouldn't be allowed. So I'm thrilled for Drew personally. I'm extremely happy that McIntyre is WWE champion. Creative got decently close to nailing this, but Chris, as you know, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
I don't know if anybody as big, imposing, physically impressive as Drew McIntyre has just not been allowed to look as imposing and physical as he is. Like, why can he not just beat the crap out of Cody and win? Like, look at him. He's Drew McIntyre. Like, why does he need to win via low blows and win via sliding out of the cage while somebody else is interfering? Like, not every heel has to just be a weasel to cheat their way out. It's what 98% of them do. It's why Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, for the first year or so of his reign, was so impressive, because he would generally just win matches by being better, by being more physical. Losing this way doesn't really give Cody any adversity. You know, it's just, oh, well, he's got an excuse because of Jacob Fatu and whatever the heck that was confusing. I'm not going to lie. When I saw the hooded figure, I thought, are we doing Austin Theory again? Is he about to, is just going to be, I mean, if you think about it, it's twice in a month and a half that we had a hooded figure unmasked, a hooded figure interfere with the main event of a big show.
It was also the 25th time in the last 3 years or something like that. I mean, you know.
So I was just confused because first Jacob Fatu shows up and I'm like, oh, are we going to find out he's actually going at Cody because it was Cody who attacked him and injured him all that time when we thought it was Drew. But no, he attacked Drew. So I was like, okay, I guess it was Drew. And then I'm like, wait, why is Cody fighting him? And then Drew wins. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? So that was an unnecessarily convoluted way to do it. I think let Drew McIntyre be awesome. He's awesome.
He's awesome.
Just do that. He's the guy who beat Brock Lesnar to win the championship the first time around. So
right, and that's what I'm saying. He beat Brock Lesnar his first time, and now he can't get one legitimate fall over Cody in a 3 stages of hell match.
Yeah. So anyway, it's good that he won. We both wanted him to win. We both didn't think he was going to win. I didn't think he was going to win because it was a tape delayed show. I mean, I was in doing college football stuff. You know, the playoff semifinals are going on. I didn't see it live. And so I was really shocked at the way it all played out. Ultimately, I think it was a good decision. I hope we can actually make something of this title run and not just be a Weasley champion to then lose it to Sammy or something.
Let's not forget, you and I both agreed, and I stated firmly 6 months ago that this feud needed to end with McIntyre winning. And while you, I'm being fair, thought ultimately that was not going to happen the way it was transpiring, I was convicted that McIntyre would win the title at the end of this feud. And then they announced that this title match would be on a tape-delayed show in Berlin. And then you and I came to the agreement of, well, they're not going to change the title in that situation, right? So at the last minute, they took me out of, I was 10 toes down. I was firm. I was planted. I was believing. And at the last minute, based on the scheduling, they did take me out of it. But ultimately, they made the right decision. And that is what's most important. It's awesome that Drew McIntyre is the WWE champion. But again, I'm not going to relitigate the whole thing. They did it in probably the weakest way possible, which is astounding when the stipulation was 3 stages of hell. If this was just a cage match, and that was the only thing that was happening, and that's how you ended it, I could probably stomach it. But you could have had Fatu interfere and still had McIntyre look decently strong or at least get a pinfall. And instead, you had him fall out of a cage to win the title. It's one thing if someone's falling out of a cage to win a match with no title on the line. It's another when it's the WWE Championship.
And we should have known, by the way, we should have looked at the schedule and realized they were immediately going to be in Glasgow and thought, oh, Drew winning the title and then taking it there would make a lot of sense.
Well, it wasn't just that. Here's what I didn't realize, Chris. Because we talked about, like, why would they do this? They're unopposed and so on.
Why do it in Germany when you didn't do it in Scotland?
But there was a college football playoff game Friday night. And that's another reason why WWE did this, because they wanted to get people to tune in and watch the main event, knowing that they were going to be opposed on a tape delay with a major event that was happening. I didn't even realize that initially. Would I have changed my prediction suddenly, thinking that they would change the title on a tape show? No, probably not. But it makes a lot more sense now in retrospect why they did it.
And same thing, obviously not a title change, but having Raw earlier in the day before Monday Night Football playoff game, doing the European tour at this time of year, I don't know if that was a factor or not. But that
was the other thing, because we talked about last week how they were unopposed with Monday Night Football for the first time. It made no sense why they were going to do it. But no, there was a playoff game. Like, it literally was the issue. So some more sensible decision making from WWE than I thought initially. Still a bit weird to do both of these in that manner. But let's circle back to Fatu's return, because I mentioned that a moment ago. Let's remember when McIntyre stated emphatically months ago, he did not attack Fatu backstage. And while Drew may be a heel and a shit stirrer and a complainer, his character is not a liar. Never has been. Not about stuff like that. In fact, it's been his most redeeming quality as a heel for years now, and something that we've praised on the show, that he's a realistic character, that if he's going to do something bad, he's going to admit to it. You may not like Drew, but tell him when he's telling lies. You can't, because he doesn't. That part of it didn't make sense to me. But okay, perhaps McIntyre comes out Friday and says, brother, I didn't attack you. You're going after the wrong guy. But yeah, thanks for the help. I'm WWE champion. If that's how it goes, I'll buy it. But retroactively suggesting that McIntyre was the attacker when he said he was not goes against his established character, and it also puts him back in the Samoan vortex, which it would be nice for him to avoid for a while.
Well, and it would also imply that he doesn't know who attacked him. If he thinks it was Drew because everybody thinks it was Drew, that means he doesn't know.
Right, and that's
and
okay.
If he doesn't know,
that's the case.
That's sort of, we didn't really, that part of the mystery was not as clear. So like I said, in the moment, I thought we were about to get swerved and Fatu was going to help Drew win. And it turned out Cody attacked him. And that would have been fun. Like, it would have been something. And instead we just left with more confusion, because it's not even like, oh, Fatu's here to get revenge. Yeah. Because we don't actually know yet.
Right. Like, ideally on Friday, the story goes, McIntyre's out there, brother, I didn't attack you. You got the wrong guy, but thank you for the WWE title. Then Cody goes, you cost me the WWE championship. And we get Cody and Jacob feuding. That's ideally the way this would go.
Yes. But then at what point do we find out who actually attacked him?
Whenever. I mean, it could be Randy Orton punt kicking. Think about it. It was a mouth thing, right? It should be Randy Orton punt kicking him in the face, ideally. But it could be anybody.
Maybe.
It could be anybody.
But how did he get him in that position and Jacob Fatu didn't know?
He's bent over tying his shoe or something.
I don't know.
Who knows? We'll figure it out. Anyway, that's the Jacob of it all. But we have a lot more to talk about coming out of this match. And I want to start by not allowing the forest to get lost through the trees here based on my criticisms about the finish. You all know
you're being very negative.
No, it's not negative. It's my legitimate opinion based on what I saw and the way it was booked. It's one thing to like the result. It's another thing to like the booking. But Silver King has been saying two things repeatedly on this program. For the last few months, I have maintained time and again, even through my pessimism, that McIntyre would end this feud by beating Rhodes. The only reason it made sense to add the extra matches and drag it out so long was if Drew was winning. I'm still floored they did it when they did it, but they got it right at the end of the day.
Yep. Thank you.
The more detailed item that I have been speaking about even longer, and you mentioned it a moment ago, maybe it's been 9 months, it's been at least 6, was that McIntyre would walk into WrestleMania as the WWE champion, Sammy would win the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, and they would finally meet on that show. The perfect heel champion for Zayn to summit, built-in extended rivalry from the past that was never finished and was put on ice. The story writes itself. And all signs now seem to be pointing to exactly that. The question now is whether there's a change in plans considering WWE booked a WrestleMania for 2027. Did they shift that championship win for him from this year in Las Vegas with Sammy pulling a Cody, winning the Rumble, losing at Mania, and then needing to climb the mountain again next year and get 2 huge moments in Saudi as opposed to 1. It's tough to believe that WWE would give Sammy 2 world title matches on consecutive Manias. So I'm leaning toward all of this happening in 2026, as I have been saying for months. It seems like WWE is booking this properly, exactly as Silver King predicted a long time ago, with the exception being that I wanted McIntyre to win the title at some point in the fall. And now, of course, he's doing it in the winter. If they are able to pull this off, it's not only extremely interesting from the Sammy standpoint and the Drew standpoint, it's injecting necessary energy and intrigue into a long, dormant, and stagnant SmackDown main event scene. So I have my fingers crossed here that they're actually going to see this through, and it's going to go as I predicted. Not just so I can be right, though, of course, I do love being right, after all.
This is my show. My show.
But because it actually makes a lot of sense for the product.
The idea that Sammy takes it off of Drew makes a lot of sense, and I hope they do that. The problem is there's such a short window here for Drew to really establish a championship reign.
Mm-hmm.
If they had been able to do this in the fall, if Rollins hadn't gotten hurt and had messed up War Games and everything, perhaps they would have, and we would have had a bit of a run. Now we're just, because of the time of year, we're just thinking in the back of our head, well, Drew won the title so he can lose it at WrestleMania. And that's not a great spot to be in either, because he deserves a good, real championship run. He had one during the pandemic. It came in front of no fans, and he did a really, really good job with that. And it'd be nice to let him kind of have one of those and not just be a whiny heel for a couple of months and then lose the belt to somebody else, you know? So that's the difficulty with the timing.
He has 3 months, if we're going to assume that he's going to lose it at WrestleMania, 3 full months as champion. Again, why he should have won the title at Survivor Series War Games or even earlier at WrestlePalooza. He really should have won it at Survivor Series, if we're being like, it was the perfect opportunity for him to do it. But he has 3 months. What he needs is 3 legitimate title defenses before WrestleMania. You do one at the Royal Rumble, you do another at Elimination Chamber, you do a third on television, and then you have him defend the title. And if you want him to lose it at WrestleMania, he loses it, but at least he had a solid run. Not every run needs to be 6 months, to a year. It's okay to have a short one, but to your point, you have to establish him, reestablish him really, as a legitimate main eventer, a guy who just because he lost the title doesn't mean he can't win it back in a couple more months.
He needs to be a guy that when you beat him, it's impressive that you beat him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the frustrating way that he won the championship.
Right.
Is that if he had a earned impressive win over Cody and you're like, whoa, it's Drew's time. It's the same thing. It's the same thing I'm going to complain about and have been complaining about with Gunther. You have to make somebody look really, really impressive to then, if someone's going to beat them, it feels like a mountain climb. And I know Sammy hasn't beaten Drew, and that's fine. But if he's the champion, it needs to feel like he's beating a top champion.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to rack up some wins. Just again, we're way fantasy booking this out, but we're from now to WrestleMania, we're going to need Drew to get wins and good wins and fair, not cheating wins.
No, you're 100% right. Like, that's one of the reasons why we were so frustrated that Sammy beat Gunther for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, because Gunther was built up like that, where beating him was summiting a mountain and accomplishing something. And the person who did not need that accolade was Sammy. The person who did need it was Chad Gable, and of course he didn't get it. Had he, it would have made him. And if Drew is able to get legitimized, even more so than he already is, over the next 3 months, and this is why he should have beaten Cody Rhodes definitively in this match, or at Survivor Series War Games would have been even better. You have him win that match definitively, beat Randy Orton, who can take an L, beat another legitimate dude, maybe Damian Priest if you want, because he was coming off of the Aleister Black feud. I'm just saying, I don't want the match to happen, but whatever. And you have him win one other match, and maybe he sneaks through one of them, but he gets a couple legitimate wins. Then going into WrestleMania, not only is Drew undefeated against Sammy, and he gets to lord that over him, and Sammy's doubting himself and all that, but in the near term, he has also been a dominant champion. So you know that this is a mountain that Sammy needs to climb. So everything you just said, 100% accurate, and fingers crossed, that's what they actually give us. The other outstanding question here is what happens to Cody over the next few months. With such a truncated window, Rhodes cannot take the title back from McIntyre before WrestleMania. Let's be clear about that. If they had changed the title in September, then it would have been plausible to switch it back here or at the Royal Rumble. But now McIntyre must hold this all the way until WrestleMania at the minimum. This does put Cody Gunther in a non-title match on deck. Cody Obafemi completing what they started in December. That's possible. Cody and Roman in a non-title match coming off Survivor Series War Games, that booking at the end. That could play. What say you?
I mean, my belief was that it had to be Gunther beating champion Cody on the second night main event of WrestleMania. That is now can't be the case because we can't have Cody take the belt back for what we said. So Cody could now do anything. I think taking him out of the main event probably makes the most sense. He's main evented it, 3 years in a row? You got some other faces and names you can do a lot of things with. See how Cody handles being outside the very, very top story, and maybe take some risks and do some other things with him. They probably won't because he's still the face of the company, but there's a chance to freshen Cody up a bit here, which is needed, as we saw by the fans booing him.
Well, sure, but that was also because they were cheering Drew. I mean, I know. That was a McIntyre babyface crowd.
Just saying, it's a chance to do something different with Cody.
It is. I mean, I believe you can do Cody and Gunther in a non-title match and have Gunther win. And then when they rematch down the line and Gunther's champion, Cody wins the title off of him. That's the way I would book it. Personally.
Sure, but is that what, just like an opener? Or middle of the show?
Opens night 2.
I hate that. Like it's probably
dude. You can say that our WWE match of the year in the 2025 Getting Over Awards, aka
the Meaties,
was a WrestleMania opener.
Yeah, I know, but Gunther retired John Cena.
I know,
and he's opening one of the nights. That's. I mean, it's a Gunther problem. That's not a Cody thing to me. That's a Gunther thing to me. And it feels more likely now that we will not come out of this WrestleMania with Gunther as your face of the company, which would baffle my mind after you had him retire Cena.
I don't know if that's entirely true, though I will say Gunther versus CM Punk rematching that does not seem like a night 2 main event.
No, it doesn't.
He's certainly not going to fight Drew McIntyre. So the only way that you could make that work is if you did a triple threat. Like CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Gunther pinned Cody.
I think it's more likely we do Gunther Brock at Mania.
That's what I have been booking for a long time. I think that's the right move. I've said it before. You have Gunther beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Checks that off his list. And then you send Brock into his retirement at SummerSlam. You have Obafemi beat him. That's the move.
Yeah.
It really is the move. Because now Gunther gets to claim he has Goldberg, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar.
Oh, you mean so like Gunther beats him at Mania and SummerSlam?
No, just at Mania, and then Brock Lesnar gets beaten by Obafemi at SummerSlam and puts Oba over.
So Obafemi's the one who retires him.
Yeah, but Gunther, I'm just saying he has big wins all inside of a calendar year.
Yes, if you want to continue to build somebody without putting them at the very top, that's probably the only move you have.
Yeah, I think that needs to be the match. Don't forget, they were going to fight at WrestleMania the year that Lesnar got suspended before the Royal Rumble. Was that 2 years ago?
That, by the way, I wonder why that didn't happen the first time.
Because he got kicked out of the company for all those reasons. So that was going to happen 2 years ago. So you rekindle the Gunther Lesnar match. Gunther gets his big win and looks like a monster. And by the way, Brock, he's been a heel recently, but you can turn him babyface in 2 seconds. Like, the fans want to cheer for him, and it's really weird, but they do. So,
yep.
Even more happened on SmackDown involving the WWE title. I told you this was an extended main event. Remember earlier when I mentioned how Priest and Zayn were both focused on taking the title from Cody? Well, that is what Randy Orton said last week in that backstage confrontation. And The Miz mentioned it on SmackDown this week. Cardona did as well. So we'll talk about The Miz much later. But this came further into our view at the opening of Friday's show with Orton in the ring. He was just starting a promo when Trick Williams interrupted him wearing full gear. The crowd chanted for Trick, but there is definitely something missing not having Booker T accentuate his entrance. Trick put himself over as usual, saying he's up and Randy's down because it's 2026, not 2006. Orton put Williams over as a future star, but said that his 14 world titles put him in an entirely different league. Trick acknowledged that Orton's among the GOATs, but said, hey, we're still out here in the same ring eye to eye. Williams smacked the mic out of Orton's hand, quickly ate a draping DDT. I think he hit the mic so hard, it nailed a fan in the first row. He definitely gave a look that told us like he saw that mic fly and got concerned at whatever happened when it landed. Anyway, when Orton set up for an RKO, Trick was gone, but Miz attacked from behind. Orton blocked the skull-crushing finale attempt, landed an RKO, and ended it. Orton then looked out of the ring at Williams and said, I think I like you, off mic. Trick was not as smooth compared to 7 days earlier against Sammy, their confrontation, but he did well enough, at least going face-to-face with Randy. And the fact that WWE has brushed him up against Orton and Zayn in consecutive weeks on the main roster, that is super important. I was confused about Orton and Miz going at it. No one really wants that in 2026. And Orton has now laid Miz out twice. But as we would learn later, there was a purpose behind that. This segment had an A-level ceiling, but it only kind of reached a B. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I was a bit mixed on this. This was the beginning of the show. This is where I had the issues with the sound. I was like, I'm having trouble here. It was just distracting me from everything. The Miz of it all was strange. And I was like, okay, I guess we don't want to put Randy over Trick in the opening, so we'll just have Miz come out and do that. And I know it was previous week or whatever, but I was like, okay, it was good that the German crowd was, again, doing whoop that Trick and all that stuff. Like, people know who he is. People know his stuff. That continues to be awesome. That is so important foundationally as you're introducing a new person to the show. It makes him feel like such a big deal. Looked like $1 million. It was fine. It was a little bit weird, like I said, but it was fine.
Fair enough. So we had Rey Fenix against Trick Williams. Fenix entered as Orton exited. He got dapped up by the legend. And my immediate thought was, not only is Trick about to beat Fenix, he's going to do it after having taken a draping DDT. Fenix impressed early. I forgot the German crowds obviously count 1, 2, 3. And I always
push it down some ice.
I always think back to Cool Runnings every single time I hear that. It's weird that German makes me think about a movie about a Jamaican bobsled team, but nonetheless. Fenix hit a slow developing double springboard hurricanrana off the ropes. Trick got double boots up to prevent a moonsault and hit Trouble in Paradise for an arm lift false finish. He followed with a leap over bookend, and Fenix answered with Adios Amigo. Trick countered a frog splash, but after Rey countered a bookend, Williams was able to reverse a pinning combination with a deep grab of the tights for the win. We knew the result was coming. Trick was not about to lose in his debut. Fenix gave him a quality match. Trick met expectations in terms of his in-ring, even though that is not his strength as a wrestler. Not having Williams win with a finisher, that was actually positive. It gave Fenix an out, not only with the rolling pinning combination, but the cheating. He grabbed his tights. He cheated to beat him. Fenix, go ahead.
I totally disagree with that. Why does Fenix need an out? He's Rey Fenix. He's done nothing.
Because he hasn't.
Why can't Trick Williams just have a win?
Well, he did win.
I mean, without cheating, why can't he look impressive on his win?
To me,
NXT champion.
To me, this was a more legitimate win than what Drew got over Cody. I'll put it that way.
I don't know. To me, but it's the same problem. Why can't we just have somebody win?
Well, I would
what does
say
Ray Phoenix need to be protected for?
Because you know why? Because Phoenix should be booked stronger, and they know he should be booked stronger, but they wanted to use him to give someone else a good match.
Williams.
They wanted to use him to give him a good match, though. That's why, because he's a great wrestler.
There's a theme we're going to have here, which is all these NXT introductions, I think, are being done in the most lukewarm way possible. And that is have Trick Williams get kind of punked by Randy Orton and then have to cheat to beat Ray Phoenix. Like, why can't Trick Williams just come in,
he's a heel,
win, make a statement?
He did.
Does every heel have to cheat?
Yeah, for the most part. Unless you're Gunther.
It makes them all feel the same, though, as if they all cheat. This is Ray Phoenix. This is like low card. Ray Phoenix does nothing. This is the guy you put out to let somebody beat him.
I'm not against what you're saying, and my expectation going in was Trick winning, so I wouldn't have been upset if he had won clean or anything like that. But Trick, his heel character on NXT, cheats to win. Like he always has. He'll take any advantage he possibly can. If this was someone like Gunther or Ludwig Kaiser, whatever the hell happened to him, we haven't seen him in forever, or a heel like that, I would have a much greater problem with it than Trick, who talks his talk, but at the end of the day does what's necessary and isn't the best in the ring. So I had zero issue with it here. In fact, I thought it was, I'm not going to use the word inspired because that's ridiculous. I found it to be palatable that he won this way rather than hitting his finisher.
If I was not, don't watch NXT every week. If his whole thing is going to be, I cheat to win, I'm not going to care.
Not every time. It's just if there's an easy way out, he will take it, which is a heel trope.
Yeah, it's what every heel does. That's not interesting.
Yeah, but anyway. I mean, it's history of professional wrestling, man. I mean, predates us.
For your debut against a nobody to not even be able to get a clean win.
He's not a nobody. Yeah, I think you're thinking about
He's a nobody in WWE.
He's not.
What has he done in WWE?
He hasn't accomplished anything, but neither has Penta. You're not going to call him a nobody.
Penta
hasn't won a title or anything.
But as of right now, he's a nobody.
I mean, again, I think you're looking at him as like Akira Tozawa, and he is not Akira Tozawa. If that's who he was fighting and he needed to grab the tights to win, I would agree with you. But that's not who he was fighting. If he had to cheat to beat Kit Wilson, I would agree with you. Ray Phoenix is not Kit Wilson. And by the way, They might have done it for a rematch purpose. Like that could be the reason. And then maybe he beats him clean in the rematch.
Okay. Anyway, we can move on.
Yeah. So look, those segments all prefaced an announcement, which is why we're still in the main event of the show. Nick Aldis said there will be a 4-way qualifying series to crown a number one contender, with that match, the number one contendership, taking place at Saturday night's main event. That'll be a 4-way. The new number one contender will then challenge McIntyre for the title at the Royal Rumble. The matches are Orton and Miz, Cardona and Trick, Priest and Solo Sikoa, and then Zayn and Ilya Dragunov. Now, I presume the winners will be Orton over Miz, Trick over Cardona, Priest over Solo, and Zayn over Dragunov. Orton because, well, he's not the Miz. Trick because Cardona can take the L. Priest because he just beat Black and Uncle Howdy can interfere. And Sammy getting his win back over Ilya. That seems obvious. But here's the kicker. Saturday night's main event is in Montreal. Another reason Zayn will obviously be in the match. If it is those four, Orton, Trick, Priest, and Zayn, which of those four do you pick as the contender for a show in Saudi, taking them out of the Rumble? You have Orton for star power, Priest because it was teased, McIntyre can beat him and move away from that very quickly, or Zayn because he's the ultimate babyface side for that show. Sammy just promised last week he's winning a world title this year. Does he do it inside of a month, winning key matches in his hottest territories of Montreal and Saudi? Do I throw my computer at my TV if Drew is a transitional champion who lasts 3 weeks? Or does Zayn lose the match, McIntyre fights Priest, Sammy wins the Rumble, and it's similar booking to what happened with Jey Uso last year? Does Sammy lose to Drew, win Elimination Chamber, and then wind up going to WrestleMania anyway? I gotta believe WWE understands that a 3-week reign for McIntyre with a loss in his first defense would be shameful. And this would be rushing the Zayn story unnecessarily. It feels like the perfect setup for WrestleMania this year getting a huge babyface pop in Montreal, but failing, parlaying that momentum into success 1 week later in Saudi. But again, a WrestleMania in 2027 potentially throws a wrench into all of this. So, Chris, I set it up for you. What say you?
It feels like the Jey Uso thing is too obvious. Like, to those of us who think about it, he wins, he gets his title match right before the Rumble, he loses it, then he wins the Rumble, gets the rematch, wins it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say no, because I think that's too much, too obvious, and too not focused on McIntyre. I'm gonna say Randy Orton gets the win to face Drew at Royal Rumble, where he loses, and Drew gets a much needed, good, impressive win over a legend.
That is the best possible booking. I agree that Sammy will not be number one contender. I think it's going to be Priest because, number one, they have history. It's not an exciting match, but number one, they have history. Number two, they teased it at the beginning of SmackDown, and it allows Orton to be in the Royal Rumble itself, which people want stars in that match.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Priest. It's the worst call out of everyone in the match, if I'm being completely honest. Orton would be the best because it would get him a really decisive, hopefully decisive, win over someone who matters. It would be a big match for the show. You want big matches on the program. Now that I say it, they are in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Orton in a title match really should be the
right.
It really should
Priest,
be. I'm going to go. I agree with
title
you.
match
I agree with you. It should be McIntyre and Orton. Hopefully that's what they do. Yeah. We're on the same page. Here's where I land, by the way, on the WrestleMania of it all. Saudi loves Sammy. It's going to be WrestleMania over there. I suppose Sammy could main event night one. My guess is the goal will be to put on a pair of massively star-studded final matches, and Sammy just gets an opening match on one of those nights to rouse the crowd, gets put in another type of title match. To me, if you're going to make Zayn world champion, you knock it out in 2026. You focus 2027 on bigger stars. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you on there. And the Rumble makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's the place to kind of do the story, I think. And we love Sammy, he's a legend, but I don't know, people are kind of tired of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't feel, there's so many new young people to kind of get behind that it feels like putting a year's worth into a Sami Zayn championship story is a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, do it this year.
You're right. 26 into 27 should be building up Bron Breakker and Obafemi and Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and a lot of these younger guys. That's who the focus should be end of this year going into next year, as opposed to someone like Sammy getting a 2-year storyline. It's just not worth it at all. 2 quick items before we move out of here. First, this was the first WWE Championship change on TV in 4 years and 4 months, and the first time it swapped hands outside of WrestleMania or SummerSlam in nearly 4 years, 3 years and 11 months. Can't wait to see what the celebration is like next week in London. It was awesome in Glasgow, Scotland. They posted videos of it on social media. That was cool. But by
the way, yeah. I love that. I love that they changed it on TV.
Me too.
Like not that it has to happen all the time, but you want to keep that possibility out there. Like, it doesn't need to be 1999 when the title changed hands like 20 times or something like that. And every Monday Night Raw, Stone Cold Steve Austin would lose it and win it back or something like that. But I do like the idea that it can change at any time and it doesn't have to be so obvious.
Yeah, not doing it for 4 years outside of WrestleMania and SummerSlam, that was annoying. Like, you really want to go into whatever show, Money in the Bank, or Royal Rumble or whatever the case, Survivor Series, War Games.
Was it Big E?
I believe the last time I think the last time it happened was when Big E cashed in Money in the Bank.
Which was day one?
It was not day one. It was on a Raw during football season. He challenged Bobby Lashley, who was the champion, and beat him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Big E lost the title at day one because Roman Reigns got COVID and couldn't be on the show, and they had Brock win both titles, and that's when they unified the championship at WrestleMania that year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very, very frustrating. I did not want to get past this segment without giving some flowers to our meaty winner for Broadcaster of the Year, Joe Tessitore, and Wade Barrett for their call of this match. Great work across the board. It was cool hearing Tess call a WWE Championship match. This bit right here, though, it may not be topped in 2026.
Off the top! No! How? Holy cow!
Or something that comes out of their back end.
Holy cow, or something that comes out of their back end. Just say shit on television, guys. Come on. Like, what do we do? I know they can't do it on USA Network, but it would have been a little bit better. Anyway, that was the main event, one of the longest in the history of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly coming up. We're going to cover everything else that happened on Raw and SmackDown. But whether it is Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or premium live events on Netflix, I am all in with NordVPN. It is easy to set up a drastically better viewing experience each night with the same high-quality streams, except they become commercial-free shows. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom, open Netflix and watch the program. That is going to be crucial for the Royal Rumble, especially for those of you who still have Comcast or YouTube TV. NordVPN also allows you to get around online censorship or surveillance and protect your private data when web browsing. Plus, one NordVPN account can be used on 10 devices. To get the best discount, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan, and there's no risk. Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your WWE viewing, save money, browse safer online, and get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. It is great to have NordVPN as the official singular sponsor of your boys right here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. And with that, let's break down the rest of the week in WWE as we always do, in the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says one more for the good guy. Say hello to the back. Don't sing it. Bring it.
AJ Styles versus Gunther. Styles backstage on Raw said he bonded with John Cena over respect, which is why he was so enraged by Gunther. Then he promised to make him tap out like a little bitch. Gunther, right before the match, said Styles should not worry about respect, but what will happen to him after the bell rings. This main evented with Michael Cole giving us a great stat that Gunther is 32-0 in non-title singles matches in WWE. Gunther chopped the shit out of Styles, knocking him off the ropes into the floor at the first break. He dominated until mocking with "You Can't See Me," giving Styles a second wind with 3 dragon screws to weaken his left knee. Styles ducked a Rainmaker, countering with a Pele kick, moving into a calf crusher until a rope break. AJ followed with a springboard 360 leg drop onto the appendage. Gunther countered phenomenal forearm into a brief escaped sleeper. Then he avoided a Pele kick and screamed in pain while running the ropes for a clothesline, following with a powerbomb stack. Styles transitioned off the ropes back into the calf crusher, but Gunther escaped like Brock Lesnar by slamming AJ's head backwards into the canvas. Gunther followed with a shotgun dropkick, only to get locked in the crusher a 3rd and 4th time consecutively. Styles released the hold when he felt Gunther tap out on his ass. He argued with the referee that the match should be over. The referee did not call the match, and obviously the bell did not ring. The ref ensured that Alicia Taylor knew the match would continue. That allowed Gunther to take advantage with a low blow and a powerbomb to win. Replay after the match showed definitively that Gunther did indeed tap out on AJ's body, purposefully an area that the referee could not see. This was a fun but somewhat frustrating ending to an excellent match. The crowd was going wild, and the finish just sucked the air out of the building. I recall Gunther doing a similar Brazilian tap-out finish with Sheamus 3 years ago. He hit the mat twice instead of 3 times. Sheamus released the hold. The referee didn't call it, and then Gunther won with a weapon aided by Imperium. Wade Barrett called this perfectly on Raw, saying the referee was not at fault and Styles should know better than to release a submission hold before the bell rings. In the Sheamus example, and we posted it on both of our social media accounts so you could watch it for your reference, he heard the tap out on the mat just like Styles felt it. The problem in both cases is experience. If Gunther was fighting a neophyte, I'd call it extremely smart and relatively perfect as a way to make your opponent look strong and still escape with a win. Styles, though, is a 25-year veteran and one of the best wrestlers in the world, a world champion across 3 different promotions over a quarter century. He should certainly know better than to release a hold against a guy like Gunther without hearing the bell ring. The idea is that by showing the footage after the fact, even though Styles made a dumb mistake, he still effing tapped out Gunther live and in living color on television, and that we should acknowledge that as viewers. And it should make Styles appear strong because he had the match won and tapped this guy out. But there's 2 problems with that. Number one, Styles needs to sell himself making the huge mistake next week. He needs to get down in the dumps over it. It needs to be part of his storyline. Otherwise, him making that mistake just makes him look stupid. It's a waste. So hopefully he does that. And number two, fans are now going to chant, "You tapped out" at Gunther even louder now, which further hurts the aura of him being the one to tap out John Cena. This was obviously a purposeful decision by creative, but I fail to understand why they want fans to mock a big bad who tapped out Cena and was getting booed out of the building in consecutive weeks coming out of that match. But separate from that, was this match an absolute
banger?
Yeah, it was. It was an absolute
banger
of a main event. It was a great first-time battle between these guys. I'm going to grade it 4.25 stars and an A. I can't go higher than that, though, for the aforementioned reasons. I can't wait for a rematch. This was good, but it was also frustrating.
I'm going to lose my mind like week after week with the stuff. The match was great. I'll give the match an A. I'm going to give the segment a bad.
Okay.
Because this was the absolute worst possible way to finish this match. Gunther, to my recollection, did not cheat to beat John Cena, correct?
He did not cheat to beat him, no.
Why is he cheating to beat AJ Styles? What are we doing? And it makes AJ look stupid. The crowd, the energy came out of the crowd. And now Gunther, again, just looks like every other Weasley little heel. It's the same thing with Trick Williams. It's the same first finish to the Drew McIntyre Cody thing we saw 3 days prior, where a referee's distracted and you get a low blow. We're just doing that again 3 days later.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why couldn't Gunther just win? Why? He didn't have to cheat against John Cena. You had built something, and now you've turned him into the guy who says bitch and the guy who cheats to win, and everybody chants "you tapped out" at. What is the goal here? What was the purpose of booking that finish?
To get the fans
How did
to
that
chant
help Gunther?
to get the fans to chant "you tapped out" at him and not have it be Jey Uso, but AJ Styles. That's the only explanation I can come up with.
That's not I know, and that's not the kind of heel that like you're scared of.
No, it's not.
I don't understand the point of any of this. They've turned Gunther into a heel that the crowd mocks.
They've turned him into a typical heel as opposed to a big, bad, dominant force, which is what he was coming out of the Cena
And
match.
the whole thing, he beats Cena, and they say pro wrestling beat sports entertainment. We're doing Ring General. We're bringing his old music back. We were building him up into this impressive monster type of guy, and we've turned him. They have turned him into a thing for people to mock. I just am so frustrated with this week after week, and it's a shame because these guys put on a hell of a match, and Gunther just beating AJ straight up in impressive fashion and maybe even toying with him at the end really reestablishes Gunther as someone you should be afraid of because he's coming for you, whoever's on top, and put that sense of doubt into AJ where he feels like maybe this is it for me, and you do the AJ retirement storyline. Like, it was right there, and instead we're doing this. I don't know if they'll rematch or what, but we're just like spinning our wheels here, and all the momentum from Gunther beating Cena, I think, is done at this point. Like, people boo him, but they were already booing him. Now it's just going to be you tapped out over and over and over again. And the thing we're going to remember is that Jey Uso tapped him out, not that he beat John Cena. I can't believe it.
No, don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, every point you made is salient right there. They had a heat magnet coming out of Saturday Night's main event in mid-December. They continued it through the end of the year, to their somewhat credit. And then they've just gone away from it, and it's been weak booking. They took someone who we said on the Raw after Cena's last match. For anyone who disagreed with Cena losing, this is why. They backed up their decision on that Raw. The following week, you were annoyed that they did it again. I was okay with it, and I feel like most people were okay with it too, because the reaction was identical. And we said, okay, for 2 weeks, cool. They're getting as much heat as they possibly can, and then they're really going to capitalize on it. And that's the problem. Since that date, they have not capitalized on it. They've had him in backstage segments saying bitch. doing this and this.
They did an R-Truth match.
Yeah, like an R-Truth match. He got into it with Otis and Akira Tozawa. This AJ Styles match, I understand why they wanted this match in Dusseldorf with Gunther, who's Austrian. I understand it. I understand wanting a big match in this spot. I understand not wanting Styles to lose clean to this guy. And maybe they are going to tell a story with Styles and Gunther where AJ beats him as part of the end of his retirement. Like, this is sending, like I said, this puts him down in the dumps. And he goes, I'm really losing my fastball here. Old AJ Styles never would have let go of that hold. What am I doing? Maybe this isn't for me anymore. And they actually give him a retirement storyline, and they use this as the kickoff point. And if they do that, then it could work. And down the line, he needs to beat Gunther, hopefully well down the line. I don't know when he's going to retire at this point. But that doesn't necessarily change the fact that Gunther was the one who looked quote unquote weak because he tapped here, even though, look, the idea of a Brazilian tap, I just want to make this clear to everyone, okay? It's not that he's so weak that he tapped out. It's that he wasn't going to tap. He's outsmarting the face, the competitor, and he's outsmarting the referee by making it look like he's tapping to get out of a bad situation that he's in so he can continue and win the match. This comes from MMA. This is a real tactic that fighters use. But it's the wrong guy to use it on and the wrong context in which to use it, even though he did it before with Sheamus, because people are already chanting you tapped out at him from tapping out to Jey Uso, which never should have happened. Jey beating him was fine. He should have pinned him and you're good. And that's the problem. It's that now this guy who was just getting booed for being a piece of shit is getting treated like a regular heel. And that's frustrating because he shouldn't be a regular heel.
Exactly. And I think WWE might tell you, like, look, people are chanting loudly at him, you tapped out. And as long as they're chanting and reacting loudly to him, it's success.
That's what they believe, for sure.
And I think that's only true in the short term. Because if you're going to try to do more with Gunther and you're going to try to build him up and do something bigger, so then when someone topples him, it's an even bigger deal. You don't have that going on.
Right.
And that is where you kind of, I think, lose things. I had another point.
While you're thinking about it, in NXT, they kept him undefeated until Ilya Dragunov beat him. And it was this was during the pandemic, but it was such a relief. It was such a moment.
Yep.
They've used Gunther losing on the main roster on Sami Zayn, who did not need it, and Jey Uso, who did need it to establish himself.
That was good.
But they did it in a very weak way.
Right. I remember
the frustration.
The best Gunther has been on the main roster was when he was Intercontinental Champ.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best that they had. They had nailed it with him.
Because it was a mid-card title and they were okay with him just beating people.
Yes, and he was just beating the crap out of people for a long time.
Right.
Had some good stories, some not so good stories, but they got there. And then you use that, you build that up and you use it on Sammy. Then you give Gunther the title later that year. And you kind of just tried to do the same thing again, but it wasn't quite the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then he lost. Because if I recall, I don't even think he had that many great wins as champion.
He didn't.
Before he ends up losing it to Jey. And so I thought the whole point of beating Cena was to kind of reestablish him there, have him go on a tear. Again, I say this every time. What is Gunther trying to do right now within WWE? What does he want? What is he trying to accomplish? It's the basic thing that should be asked of every character we see on the pro wrestling screen. What are they trying to do? Yeah. Are they a character who's down on themselves and they're trying to get confidence back? Are they trying to get revenge on somebody? I don't know what Gunther is here doing. He's like kind of gloating that he beat Cena. That's it? Like, is that his goal?
Right. This should be a jump off for him proving he's the most dominant wrestler in the entire company.
Yeah. I just, if he wasn't good, and if you want to say the Brazilian thing isn't cheating, whatever, he still did the low blow and all.
Well, no. It's definitely cheating. It's frowned upon in a major way.
But if you want to say he outsmarted him.
He did outsmart him.
But like, he didn't have to do that to John Cena. That's my whole thing.
Sure.
That's why I'm frustrated.
No. And you're right. And again, that's why, like, there really wouldn't have been that much harm just letting him beat Styles. And,
No.
Even if he did the Brazilian tap out, if the match went, I say this all the time, if the match went 5 minutes further and he didn't do a low blow, he just beat him in the ring. And so AJ had his moment, but ultimately just lost clean to him. Otherwise, I wouldn't be as upset about this. It's the fact that it was immediately followed by a low blow, a single powerbomb, and he got the win. And it's like, this guy needs to look as dominant as he possibly can. And he should be beating AJ Styles. And he should be beating Randy Orton and some of these other guys. And then eventually, and he should be beating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And then eventually, when he loses, it's going to feel even more momentous because of all the wins that came before it. And that's what we're hoping for Drew McIntyre as well. By the way, closing the loop on Sheamus, while he did get that moment with Gunther where the Brazilian tap out happened and fans went crazy and so on, he never wound up beating him. He went 0-2-1 against him after that match. So it was not parlayed into success or a title win or anything like that. Hopefully that's not the case for Styles and he actually pulls off the victory at some point. But now they have to weigh keeping Gunther strong and ensuring Styles gets that win. And I don't know how they're going to do it. We have a lot more to talk about, so we do need to move on. Liv Morgan got in Finn Balor's face backstage asking why he was sitting around playing WWE 2K. She said he made a grand statement last week about carrying Judgment Day on his back and wanting gold. Again, no one in the United States saw that promo. So
Nope.
So how could the audience know what she was referencing, folks? But since he said that, she said, he should be getting off his ass and achieving just like all the women were attempting to do. Roxanne Perez agreed, and they finally left Finn. He appeared motivated to go do exactly what they wanted him to. This was a good segment for me because I saw the promo last week, but again, it would have hit much harder if all of you were allowed to see it as well. Plus, if WWE, if they are going to do a complacency angle, a smart angle, mind you, especially for Balor's character, the talking to from Liv should have come before Finn's promo. That should have been the thing to light a fire underneath him that he then cuts a promo and says, I'm going to win the title this year, and then goes out and achieves. Instead, they had him cutting a directed promo and then being complacent the very next week. That is completely out of order. I'm giving this a good because I really liked the segment, but it faltered for the order of operations and the fact that the United States audience did not see the promo last week.
Yes, I did like this, so good.
CM Punk, who probably should have opened the show, came out late during hour one. He said he plans on being World Heavyweight Champion forever, but as evidenced by Cody's loss, plans do change. Punk put the vision in his rearview mirror, given the win last week, saying the road to WrestleMania goes through him, and he can't wait to learn his next challenger. Punk thought the segment was over. He was about to leave the ring, but Balor surprisingly answered, saying he's not going to wait for the Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber, but he also doesn't want a handout. It's Punk who name-dropped him after winning the strap. We talked about that, you'll remember. Punk correctly pointed out that happened 2 months ago, saying Balor has done absolutely nothing since then, and he's more worried about playing video games, helping Dominic Mysterio, and kowtowing to Liv Morgan. Furthermore, Punk said he wasn't blowing smoke. He's going to be a fighting champion, and he's willing to fight him tonight. Balor, of course, said timing is everything, and while the line starts with him, he's going to take his opportunity next week in Northern Ireland. I believe he just said it was Ireland because it's Belfast.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not. And he definitely knows that because he's Irish and he's not Northern Irish. Punk basically just reiterated that he would still emerge as champion no matter the location. This segment, Chris, was so excruciatingly close to being great. As it progressed, I thought Punk or even Balor was going to point out that Finn may want the title opportunity, but he doesn't deserve it yet. We've gone over his win-loss record here on the show ad nauseum. He is simply not at a place where he's deserving of a world title match. This should have been the start of Balor's road to a number one contendership. And that would have made for a much more explosive segment. Or maybe he could have been given a number one contendership match in Belfast that he could win in front of that crowd. Instead, to my disappointment, it was literally just a way to put him in a big match near his home turf. Because again, Northern Ireland and Ireland are not the same country for those unaware. If WWE wanted to do this, why not start this angle a month ago, give Balor a couple singles wins to elevate him? Why not put him in a number one contendership match of some kind with a motivating promo about winning so he can get home field advantage? All of that requires foresight and planning. When you consider his refocused promo happened during a commercial break and he was just granted a title shot here for no reason other than Punk once mentioning his name 2 months ago, it doesn't give you as a viewer any reason to believe he can actually win. I'm happy that he's getting the shot. Hopefully WWE remembers what it has in this guy going forward, because I'm sure the match is going to be great. But again, for a segment that could have been awesome, it was just good.
Yeah, I thought it was just good. And I do think this is just, we're going to give him a big match. We'll do it in Northern Ireland. And we don't need to build a big, long Finn Balor story because he's not a long-term priority here. So, like, I'm fine with that. And I like the idea of Punk's being the fighting champion. All right, I'll fight you. Like, that is so much better to me than babyface getting goaded into offering a heel a championship match because of something they said or whatever. I prefer, Cody did this for a while too. So it's like, I'm the champ. I'm confident in my abilities. I'll fight anybody. Let's do it. So I'm ultimately fine with that. The Balor described himself, he would be an Irish champion, and Punk said the match was something like with your countrymen. That was the word he used. He used countrymen, but they are indeed different countries. And while you were talking, I looked this up. Do people from Northern Ireland refer to themselves as Irish or Northern Irish, or what is it? So it's 32% British is how they refer to themselves, 29% Irish, 20% Northern Irish, and then some other stuff. So about like a little less than a third call themselves Irish. Yeah. So I don't know however you in Northern Ireland want to refer to yourself, you can, but countrymen is not the correct.
Yeah. I mean, let's just, it's not the preferred nomenclature is what you would say. Let's just put it this way. There's a reason why Ireland and Northern Ireland are different countries, and you can do very little research or ask ChatGPT, which is what people do these days, and it'll explain to you exactly why. I will say this. It's nice to have a fresh first-time matchup. Like, Gunther and AJ Styles felt really good and fresh, and some of the stuff we've seen on SmackDown, these first-time matches, Trick Williams and Rey Fenix, felt fresh. Finn looked like he belonged in the main event scene, as he always has, because he has a great look. Hopefully, Balor losing this is going to be the start of a storyline back to the top, where he can then actually deserve the title opportunity and then become World Heavyweight Champion. But as always, I am not going to get my hopes up.
It won't, but I will say, in a good bit of company synergy, which in hindsight was plainly obvious, Finn was on Cody Rhodes' podcast, and actually they had a really kind of interesting conversation. And so you kind of like, the point of the podcast was to kind of remind you how good Finn Balor was and how important he is in pro wrestling history. And so that leading into him getting a title shot here, you can kind of connect the dots on that. But Finn Balor is a legend, and it's why we always want more for him.
Look, I'm not saying he's going to win a world title. I do hope the promo from last week was real and was not a 1 week type of deal just to create this match. Not for a world title necessarily, because again, I just don't think it'll ever happen. But he can be, now that the mid-card titles are actually established as being meaningful again, he can definitely be an Intercontinental Champion or a United States 100%. Champion. And I do hope before the year is out, he gets that opportunity, because
he's an Intercontinental Champion type that goes on a good solid run to reestablish that title, and then you drop it to
a big baby
like an Obafemi or a Javon Evans.
100 exactly right. Yes, you take it off Dominic, you put it on a baby face, or you have Balor beat Dominic for the title. Because don't forget, didn't Dom win the title by pinning Finn at WrestleMania? Wasn't it a 4-way?
No, he beat AJ right at Mania.
I thought it was a 4-way match and he pinned Finn.
I thought it was just AJ versus Dom.
I'm going to have to look it up while we're talking, but recently he pinned Finn Balor. Dominic did. It was either in that or a number one contendership match or something.
That might have been it, maybe.
It happened. So like, even if it's Balor beating Dominic for it and then going and dropping it to the next big baby face, whether it's Obafemi, whether it's Javon Evans, whoever, like, he can be a transitional, but it should be like 3-4 month reign where like it's on TV regularly.
Dom beat Bron Breakker, Finn, and Penta.
Yeah, he pinned Finn Balor in that match.
Okay, he did beat AJ though, right?
I mean,
for some reason in my head,
probably at some point.
It was so long ago, but I think you're right.
But yeah, he pinned Balor for the title at WrestleMania, and they never really capitalized. Like, that's when Balor started feeling a certain way about him, but he didn't get angry at him or kick him out or anything like that. And then obviously he beat John Cena to win the title back. That's how Dominic's been champion. Anyway, a lot more to talk about. Rio opened Raw, this time with Io Sky thankfully getting her entrance and not being a total second fiddle to Rhea Ripley. Still no combined theme for them, even though they are now champions. They said they won the physical and mental battle over the Kabuki Warriors, putting them in their place, and as such, they were laying out a challenge to any tag team. Judgment Day answered immediately, followed by Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, with the former getting loudly serenaded. She pointed out that Roxanne Perez not only lost to her one-on-one, but dropped the tag team titles to the Warriors. After Io ranted at them in Japanese, the Warriors pulled the champions out of the ring. That led to an 8-way brawl. A triple threat number one contendership was set. This was nothing we haven't seen before. It was rather boilerplate, but it was well executed. What stood out most to me was commentary mentioning how Lyra had been ranting about the team being excluded from tag team title conversations, and Bayley pointing out as much in her promo, which they previously did backstage to Adam Pearce. We've been talking about that for a while. Plus, the awesome European response to her always hits. This was good.
Yeah, good. Pretty basic stuff, but it worked.
Bayley and Lyra versus Judgment Day versus Kabuki Warriors. Liv and Roxy coming to the ring together. Whoo boy.
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
Chris, I guess this is where we're starting in 2026, are we not?
Oh, I mean, are we starting with tag team champions here, or is it a split championship?
It's a moment. It's a hey now moment. It's what we saw.
Right,
so it's
so
them.
is it Roxanne or Liv? Who's getting the
Oh
title?
no, it's both of them. It's them together in this moment coming down to the ring.
Okay, but a singles can take the title off of a tag team.
Yeah, and a tag team in theory could take it off of a single. It could happen in a match.
Yeah.
It could happen in a backstage segment.
We're
it could happen during an entrance. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. We're starting with the lay cool of Hey Now champions. They're going to split the championship in half.
Indeed. It was quite a sight seeing them come to the ring.
I will say, and the other thing, this also emphasized to me, and I said it before, having Roxanne next to Liv makes Liv look big.
It does. Yes. And
I think
very
that's
positive
important.
way. It makes them also, it makes Roxy look less small too, which is, works as well. This was contested under the appropriate triple threat rules. Thank you. Kairi Sane hit an insane elbow into a pile of women ringside. The most hyped she had been in a long time. There was a great Tower of Doom out of the corner, plus a double German suplex by Asuka. Valkyria ate an assisted insane elbow with the referee refusing to count because Sane was not legal. This did confuse the women in the ring, but you know what? Good on him for keeping the rules. Bayley landed an assisted elbow drop backbreaker, only to eat pop rocks for a pair of broken falls. As the women tussled on the ropes, Morgan ran in from out of nowhere, catching Sane with Oblivion to win the number one contendership for Judgment Day. Super fun match that got a far better response than even the title bout last week in Brooklyn. Not sure what was up with that crowd. All three teams were over, despite two pairs being heels. Liv worked incredibly well with Roxy, considering their pairing is relatively new. Kairi was the MVP of this match by a mile. She was everywhere, doing everything, selling her ass off, taking bumps in the pin. A+ effort. Frustrating that Bayley and Lyra didn't get the opportunity, but Chris, I have a sneaking suspicion that we might see a 5-way TLC match or something like that at WrestleMania. And that's when Bayley and Lyra get the victory they were supposed to get last year. This match will happen on Saturday night's main event for the title, so I presume a Rio retention. It was good.
Yep, good match. Understand the winners. We are, as we kind of get to that time of year, we book out to Mania, even though it is it's like
3 full months away.
April. Yeah, so it feels like at this point, you wonder what is Rhea Ripley going to do at WrestleMania. She's one of those tentpole people, and based on where things are at, it feels natural that they stay in a tag team and they take this to Mania. And maybe we do that with all these teams. You'll have to make sure you kind of keep it fresh for 3 months here, but wouldn't hate that. That'd make a lot of sense.
It would not be impossible. I mean, look, they are the tag team champions. I don't anticipate them not being in the Royal Rumble match. It is not impossible for Ripley or Io or, anyone to win the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber, become a number one contender, and wrestle twice in as many days. They are without Bianca Belair. We did fully believe we were getting Ripley and Belair at WrestleMania this year. She hasn't been there the whole year because she hurt herself at that WrestleMania in the triple threat. So it's not inconceivable that Ripley or Io wrestles 2 matches on a 2-night show. Are they going to do it? We will find out. Cole interviewed Raquel Rodriguez on the stage. First time in a long time that's happened. Rodriguez got immediate heat, which was great to hear. And she actually said thank you to the fans for booing her, which made me laugh. Raquel basically said she's sick of biding her time and waiting her turn. She's been cheated out of opportunities time and again, and while the fans may feel sorry for Stephanie Vaquer, Raquel will not rest until she gets a fair title opportunity. Tough to disagree with her there. She called herself Big Sexy Raquel Rodriguez, and we're an audio show, so I don't have a drop for it, but put in your head the Kevin Nash meme where he raises his eyebrow. She said fans will truly feel sorry for Vaquer when she gets done with her. That led to Stephanie limping out in her boot, security hoarding Raquel to the back, and Vaquer getting into the camera, cutting a passionate-ass promo, telling Rodriguez to come and get her. So, hysterically, that's exactly what Raquel did. She attacked her from behind, drilled her in the boot with the Women's World Championship, and just threw the title on her dead body. The big ticket item to discuss here is Big Sexy Raquel Rodriguez. I am flummoxed why she went with that instead of Big Mommy Cool, which is what she used in NXT, and it's a moniker that fits her so much better than Big Sexy Raquel Rodriguez. That said, I like it better than nothing, and shout out to Nash for his advice. That was appreciated from her, and it was perhaps the most confident that Raquel has ever sounded in a main roster promo. I loved how she mocked Vaquer's limp before she left the first time. Vaquer's rage-filled rant into the camera was rolling along well too, and while historically we've always seen the heel attack like this, for some reason, I guess because of the way Raquel was hoarded to the back, I didn't think it was going to happen. This was a well-composed and well-executed segment, and when it ended, I found myself hoping that Raquel would leave their eventual match as Women's World Champion. And you know what? I think they're going to make that change. Either way, this was Vaquer's best-built feud to date. It is, I should say, her best-built feud to date. It's getting the best out of both of them. That's good writing. That's good booking. This is good.
And having it do this way instead of a backstage segment, instead of coming out with Liv and Roxanne, it's just Raquel on her own. It's just her oos. And you do it that way with Michael Cole interviewing her as opposed to a backstage interviewer type of person. The entire presentation here was to tell you that Raquel is important.
Yep.
And they absolutely did that. Vaquer, the fire she showed speaking to the camera, been wanting to see that, loved it. And then a storyline that is based entirely around attacking people from behind continues to go on. And I kind of appreciate it's almost a trope at this point. I mean, Stephanie gets attacked, Nikki Bella gets attacked, Raquel, they're all doing it to each other. It's pretty funny that it's happening every single time.
I know it's a trope and a stereotype, but like Latin women are known for their temper. But Vaquer was the only one who never got angry. And it didn't make sense when she has devil horns as part of her character. She should be getting angry and pissed off and tearing people apart all the time. So her showing fire, and to your point, Rodriguez being presented like a main eventer. You believed it. She looked the part, she spoke the part, and she acted the part. It couldn't have been executed better, this segment. It was a far cry from what they did last week. We liked the attack last week with Raquel and Stephanie. But the promo preceding it was just Stephanie being goody two-shoes into the mic again. This kicked the shit out of that. This was night and day.
Yes.
Adam Pearce laid down the law with Paul Heyman backstage, saying if Bron Breakker shows up with bad intentions, he doesn't even want him at the show. Earlier in the program, we saw the Vision arrive without Breakker. This was ahead of a planned tag team match from last week. Penta and Dragon Lee against Bronson Reed and Austin Theory. Probably the best and loudest entrance reception Dragon has ever gotten on the main roster. Reed took a spike DDT from Lee. Theory, wearing shorts instead of his new pants, took a backbreaker from Penta. Just as the match was starting to heat up with Dragon going on a run, Breakker ran down the ramp and speared him out of his shoes. Then he charged the ring, destroyed Penta with a rope run spear. He went to stalk Dragon with a runaround spear ringside, but Pearce actually got in his way, screaming in his face. As that happened in the background, the Vision took advantage with Reed hitting Tsunami on Penta. And then as Pearce got in Breakker's face, Breakker speared Dragon a second time. So Pearce physically grabs Braun, turns him around and screams, "I'm sick of this shit." Braun put hands on Pearce, drove him into the corner, and had to physically get restrained by the rest of the Vision. Pearce went nuts on Heyman and followed Breakker down the ramp, continuing to scream at all of them. Logan Paul begged him to stop because he said that Breakker would kill him, which was kind of funny. Penta and Dragon sold the injuries in the training room. Javon Evans checked on them. Pearce continued screaming at Breakker backstage, suspending him indefinitely as spittle literally flew out of his mouth. Heyman told Pearce that it was a very big mistake he just made because he may not realize it, but Pearce put his hands on Breakker first. outside of this being the first time in authority figure history that there was not a swarm of security running down alongside them to ringside, especially considering that this happened like a dozen times already with the Vision. This was kind of awesome. It was the realest and most dangerous the Vision has ever felt. Breakker came across like an absolute madman psychopath, and he felt more like a legitimate main eventer here than he has at any other point. Not only was he perfect, Pierce just put himself in the driver's seat for Ringside Talent of the Year in the 2026 Getting Over Awards, aka
Los Meaties.
He was outstanding. He was the MVP of the segment. Beyond the excellent work and the captivation that this offered the viewer, it created an intriguing storyline entering next week's show. Pierce probably cannot punish Breakker now. So what happens? This was great, but for the purpose of this segment, it was good.
It was good. And it was like, oh, someone's, Pierce has been losing his mind for months and months and months. And you always wonder if it's going to boil over into something at some point and somebody getting physical with either him or Aldis. Both of those guys, longtime pro wrestlers. We always dreamed that Pierce and Aldis would fight each other or something, which doesn't seem to be happening. But yeah, I was like, oh, shoot, like something's happening here. Like I was super into this. Really hot, exciting. All of that was great. I did notice at the beginning of this, though, the Vision entered during commercial, at least for people in America and without NordVPN, because I was like, wait a minute, Theory's in the ring. Did I miss his new theme again? I rewound it. Nope, I didn't. So that was disappointing. We got the Theory end, and then the second time didn't get it. I noticed Logan Paul was out there. I was like, oh, I guess he's just hanging out in the background again. So interesting we didn't get that here in America live. But overall, good stuff. Dragon Lee and Penta. Can we just do the Lucha Brothers?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, it would make so much less sense to have Javon team with these guys than just bringing Phoenix over from SmackDown.
I know.
Now, to be fair, Javon leveling up into a main event-ish storyline, that is intriguing. So that would be kind of cool to have him involved with them. But it seems like, I said this, 2 weeks ago, when Rey Mysterio was involved also, this feels like the perfect opportunity to reunite the Lucha Brothers and get those guys together on Raw to bolster the division. So that I don't understand. You mentioned Theory, okay? So I don't know what music they played during the entrance, because again, I was late watching Raw. We were actually taping this award show, so I wasn't able to watch it.
It may have been
live.
a Bronson Reed entrance or the Vision.
But the point is, I can't even tell you. But this is what I wanted to follow up on. This was another lost week for Theory. Yeah. They did the great reveal, a solid follow-up. Then they did a promo segment where he said he would explain himself, only to not be able to because they got interrupted. And now nothing. He's just a guy again. It's inexcusable to not capitalize on that reveal. And now they're just throwing him out there. This shit is not hard. If you're Paul Levesque and creative gives you a show script and you're looking at it, how do you not say, well, what do you have planned for Theory on this show? What are we doing with him? We just brought him back. That to me is a massive problem. You talked about Gunther, them not capitalizing on that. That's true. They more recently brought Theory into it, and they're not capitalizing with him either.
I don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't get it.
Like, we're talking about bringing up Trick Williams and Javon Evans and possibly Obafemi and the women and spotlighting all these new young people. Cool. Theory's young. He's a new person that you just had a big storyline reveal for, and now he's the third fiddle in a segment, maybe fourth to Logan, because at least Logan got a speaking line.
The last pay-per-view we had was War Games, and it ended with Austin Theory, it turns out, interfering in the main event of that match. The last big show we got was Saturday Night's main event with Gunther. It's like neither of those guys, I mean, Gunther is obviously doing big things, but yeah, you're right. It was a wasted time for Theory, a wasted week.
2 weeks in a row.
Like you would think, like, if you're going to do what you did with him, if you're going to have him be the interfering in War Games, then you have to commit to that. And that be like, we went a couple weeks not even talking about the hooded figure. And I was like, why are we not talking about this?
Yeah.
Like, how is this not the most important thing going on? It just feels like week to week, the main priority of the show just seems to change every week.
100% right. And now that opportunity is lost with him. I'm not saying you can't book him well and make him feel important. You can, but he can't come out next week and say, okay, now I want to tell you why I did that. It's been a month, bro. It's over. Like, you're part of the division. That's what it is. You know, what do you think about this idea? So Pierce probably can't suspend Breakker, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about him signing Obafemi specifically to be the guy who handles Breakker and the Vision for him? It works for me because it puts Oba up in the ranks as a beast immediately. The problem would be you don't want Femi and Breakker anywhere near each other this early on the main roster. So I don't think that's what they're going to do. But bringing in a heavy and having it be Femi, it kind of does make sense.
I mean, I don't love the idea of Obafemi coming in and working for the general manager of the show, for one. And two, maybe this is just me, but the imagery of bringing in the African guy.
Yeah,
fair enough. Work for the boss. Yeah, I don't. I want Obafemi to come in.
What if he signs him? What if he signs him and says, "I just need you to do me one favor"? Something like that.
We'll get like. Do we want to talk about the Obafemi? I mean, like he got the vignettes on this show.
Yeah, but he's been getting them it's 3 weeks in a row now. I mean, it's every week.
Well, like I have hated the way Javon Evans has kind of become part of the main roster. We'll get to Jordan Grace. I'm just terrified that I'm very worried they're just going to make it very low impact for Obafemi as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, like your idea, like it's something. Like it's sure a heck a lot more than what some of the other people they're calling up are doing. So I don't know.
I don't believe they're going to be as light with Femi as they are with Trick and Javon, which is why I think they're delaying his debut. I'm confident they're not going to.
I hate the vignette. I hate doing the vignettes. I hate it. Like we just saw him wrestle Cody and cut a promo with him the night before. Why do we need the vignettes?
I wouldn't be against having one of them. Or one on each show for 1 week, but doing it 3 weeks in a row, 6 times, it's enough. Like we get it.
We've to the point with Jordan, Javon, Trick, all the stuff. Like when they come up to the main roster, again, I say this every week, like it should be like a wow moment. And instead we're like sliding these people into like mid card. Oh, we talked in the backstage for a couple of weeks. So they're just all the interest in the intrigue in them is just gone by the time they finally wrestle a match. And it's like Obafemi is so special that like whenever he shows up, it's got to be like a holy crap, whoa type of thing. And I hate like just giving us vignettes that make him feel like anybody else.
Well, at this juncture, my hope is that the vignettes are leading to him in the Royal Rumble and he signs with a brand coming out of the Royal Rumble. That's my expectation.
Here's another thing. Nobody cares what brand they sign with. This backstage and Javon and Jordan Grace, what team? Oh, we're talking backstage.
They don't, they don't. But if you're not doing a draft, if you're not doing a draft, you have to explain why they are on one brand versus the other.
No, you don't. They just show up one day, did something surprising, and
no,
then it's
we can't ask for them. We can't ask for them to be logical in all these cases, and then just have people show up on brands.
They're already not logical. We've gone through this for years.
No, but we've been talking about it that they're way more logical than they used to be. Okay, and we can't be demanding that from them.
So nobody can make a surprise appearance on a show.
No, they can. They can make a surprise appearance, and then we find out that they were signed to the brand. That's totally okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying
that's fine.
Jordan Grace. I'm saying having Jordan Grace and Javon Evans like interact with people backstage and debate about signing. It's the most.
But that happened with Lash Legend. Lash Legend showed up, and she was just on SmackDown.
I think she's been, and I think she's done more interesting things.
What I'm explaining is there's room for both. I agree that it shouldn't be everyone, and right now it is everybody. It's 3 different people that they've done it with. But as long as they're doing both, and it's not 100% one way or 100% the other way, I think it's totally fine.
I just think kind of like debuting on the main roster backstage with the GM is so lame. And I hate it for everybody.
I mean, look, it's better than opening a door and finding John Morrison back there and oh yeah, he's signed to the company now. Okay. I mean, that's what happened before. Or people would just show up on the other show. They're like, oh yeah, they're on Raw now. Why? They got traded for what? Nothing. They at least explain it now. And to me, that's a huge improvement. We're getting off top. We got a lot more to talk about.
Yes.
But since we're talking about all these newbies, let's talk Javon Evans, who fought Rayo Americano. This was Javon's debut as a signed main roster superstar. Presentation largely unchanged. It was a terrific match, with Rayo proving to be a great playing partner as expected. Evans won with a Spanish fly and OG cutter. Los Americanos attacked after the bell, with Javon escaping by leaping from the barricade over the announce table, running through the ring and getting to safety. I presume Evans is going to fight Bravo next week and then run through them one after another as his debut slate. Hope he still gets to use his Tornillo Splash for major matches in the future. The OG cutter is good, but that move is more impressive. Good stuff overall here. I did find myself wanting a more personality-driven backstage segment as well. It felt like a half-measure debut, especially when last week we didn't see his signing on TV and they didn't post it on social media until 20 minutes later.
Yeah, I mean, this was fine. Come out, get a win. The Americanos, I keep forgetting all of their names and what they're doing.
That's also lost momentum, by the way.
Yeah, if it had any. This is fine. You have Javon Evans come on and do his moves, and that's the point. So, sure.
You said if it had any. El Grande Americano definitely had momentum, and it has slowed down significantly. Now, just as I'm saying, right, that Javon didn't get a promo, I come to find out later, thanks to longtime listener Bernardo, that Evans cut a commercial break promo. I didn't get to see it again. I started Raw late.
Of course he did.
So there you go. 2 weeks in a row, something important involving Javon during a commercial. Let's listen to what he had to say and how the crowd reacted to him.
Please welcome the young OG, Javon Evans.
I'm a little lit.
I feel you. Javon, let's run through the timeline of your career. You start training at the Performance Center at the age of 19 years old, about 2.5 years ago. A couple months ago, you're having standout matches on Raw, on SmackDown, Saturday night's main event. Last week, Adam Pearce signed you to a contract, and then earlier on tonight, you defeat Bravo Americano in your first official match as a Monday Night Raw superstar. How wild has this been?
This has been crazy. It was my first W as an official Raw superstar. It was my first time in Europe. That's crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Hey, hold on. Just to make it better, I want to make sure I'm saying it right. This is my first time in Dusseldorf. All right. No, but honestly, man, this is crazy. Since I've walked in. Okay. Nah, this has been a blessing. This has been a blessing. Since I've walked into NXT and now working myself to Monday Night Raw, I've gotten so many opportunities. And I'm glad, I'm honored. I just want to let y'all know right now, whatever y'all expect from the young OG, I'm working. All right, I'm not going to let you down. Netflix, I ain't going to let y'all down. Dusseldorf, I ain't going to let y'all down. Byron, I ain't going to let you down. And whatever you expect from the young OG, just know that I'm going beyond and above, or above and beyond, all right? But also, we going to know every Monday night, and we going to find out that boy is bouncy. Come on now.
So he's out there. He's got the crowd cheering for him. All right, he's popping. He's showing a lot of personality plus, and no one gets to see that, right? Like this is the problem. You can find, now that was 2 minutes. It was a bit long. You can find 60 seconds to get this guy a live promo on TV.
Yes, obviously, for someone who we don't really know.
Yeah. It's just a wasted opportunity. Becky Lynch got a promo package recounting all the ways she's been screwed by Corrupt Carr and Power Mad Pierce, saying that it's ridiculous how she's being forced to give Maxine Dupree a rematch after just 2 weeks when it took her months to get another chance. Maxine cut a big-time babyface promo backstage with the Alpha Babes, unfortunately, trying to give them confidence to pursue gold while tearing down Lynch, saying that she would break her ankle next week and not allow her to cheat to win again. That bout is happening in Northern Ireland, which is obviously sensible, again, despite not being Beck's home country either. Holy shit, I could not be any less interested in another Becky Maxine match, let alone another Dupree title bout, especially after that horrendous showing when they changed it back. This is the 6th time they're going to be fighting since October. It's absolutely ridiculous. Not even a good feud. It badly needs to end. Now, that said, both of their promos were good, so that's the grade I'm giving it. But if the strap switches back or this continues after next week, I am going to lose my freaking mind. Just like Andy, what's his name in The Office? What's he say? What's his name? Andy Bernard. I'm going to lose my freaking mind. Lynch better win this clean with no bullshit. Put an end to it already. But again, I will give Maxine credit. She cut a good promo and Becky did too.
She did. And it also kind of felt like maybe this could be Maxine and the Alpha Babes splitting up or just I don't know. Like Maxine was like, look what I did. You guys need to do that too. So I don't know. I thought the promos were fine, like you said. Overall, I'll give this a good. It does need to end. And something I've been meaning to say over and over every week, and I keep forgetting. They mentioned it here, where Becky says, I'm the best. Even Sports Illustrated says it.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, Sports Illustrated gave most of its wrestling awards to AEW, and Mercedes Moné was the Women's Wrestler of the Year, not Becky Lynch. And so they keep saying Sports Illustrated, and I'm kind of surprised that they did.
So
because
people are conflating the two.
The awards to AEW.
People are conflating the two. They gave her Women's Wrestler of the Year for 2025. They separately, months earlier, called Becky Lynch the greatest women's wrestler of all time. That's what she's saying. It wasn't an award that she won. It was a moniker they gave her and a title they gave her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that, and it may be worth clarifying.
Yeah, people keep conflating that. Yeah.
SI Wrestling Awards.
People keep conflating them, but no, that's not what it was. And by the way, Sports Illustrated said it, sure. The Getting Over Wrestling podcast has been saying that shit for years, Becky, and you know this because you joined this show. So you can talk about Corrupt Carr and Power Mad Pierce, and you can shout out Sports Illustrated. You should be shouting out the Getting Over Wrestling podcast because we've been honoring you a lot longer than them. Just saying. Otis and Akira Tozawa later approached Jey Uso, who was feeling himself, and didn't take their wanting a tag team title opportunity seriously at all. He said they were boys, so he didn't think they actually wanted the smoke that comes with challenging the Usos. But when Otis insisted, Jey said that he would check with Jimmy and get it done, though it's going to cost him at the end. As is the case with Balor, these guys have done absolutely nothing to deserve a title shot. It's lazy as hell. Have them get motivated, win a couple matches, maybe grab an upset, and then book the title bout. In fact, the way you book New Day, you could have them fight New Day, escape with a win, and then they could claim they beat former multi-time champions and they deserve a match. I'm not a fan of the booking for that reason. But I will say again, despite not liking the booking, I really enjoyed this segment. I liked the way Otis spoke to Jey. I like how Jey responded to him. It felt like a fresh interaction. So I'm going to give this a light good.
It did, and I give it a good as well. And it's like I said, coming off of the things that Maxine had just said to them.
For sure. So Carmelo Hayes came across Miz exiting Nick Aldis's office. Miz was thrilled because he was given a way to win WWE title. As we talked about earlier, he wanted to become a 3-time Grand Slam champion. He said he would do that after taking one of Melo's forthcoming open challenges, but he couldn't do it this week because Orton had already attacked him. Hayes shaded Miz for not being ready before coming across Ilya Dragunov, suggesting he answer the challenge. Dragunov promised that they would fight again, but said he had something else to handle with Aldis, and Hayes breathed a sigh of relief, given that obviously would have been a war. I found it interesting that everyone on SmackDown was focused on becoming WWE champion, specifically when there were 22 days until the Royal Rumble when that show aired, but as we found out later, and as we discussed earlier, it was because they were doing the number one contendership qualifying matches. I enjoyed how much character we saw from Melo here, both standing up to Miz, trying to level up with Ilya, only to show us, I don't actually want to fight that guy again. And who would, because he's a beast. I'm glad we're going to get Melo Miz at some point to wrap up that storyline. So this was good.
Yeah, we never did finish that. I've been waiting for that. But this was, it was fine. It was good.
Later backstage, Nathan Frazier got attacked by Johnny Gargano, who was wearing Axiom's mask and dressed exactly like him, until Axiom ran in for the save. They were gearing up to answer the open challenge. Obviously, that got thwarted. 3-hour SmackDown. They're still stuck on the pot, not resolving the storyline with a match. Hopefully, Axiom gets to wrestle next week in London, and this gets done. United States Championship Open Challenge. Hayes was answered by Shinsuke Nakamura. Just 3 days after I said WWE needed to flip the order of the entrance lights, they did exactly that. Him was spelled properly top to bottom on the ramp. Nakamura obviously got a nice pop. He did a great job working Hayes' left knee with dragon screws, brutal attacks, a single leg crab. Melo answered with regular DDT and a flying DDT off the ropes. And much later, he dodged Shin's knee into the turnbuckles, splashing him from the top rope outside. Nakamura fully dodged a frog splash, putting Hayes in a knee bar, and he was able to escape and reverse a neck breaker into a flip over stunner. Shin landed a running kick and Michinoku driver, but saw Kinshasa countered with a super kick. Melo then landed his blind springboard DDT. Shin was able to hit a leaping Kinshasa off the middle rope. He attempted another one, but Hayes blocked it with the first 48 and landed nothing but net, coming back to retain the title. Hayes extended a hand after the end. Nakamura shook it, and Melo bowed to him before getting his arm raised. While it was a little bit frustrating to already rehash an open challenger in Shinsuke, running Nakamura in Europe always makes sense. The match was slow because Shin he can't go like he used to, but he worked it in a style that regularly drew babyface reactions for Melo, and he kept overcoming adversity, Hayes did, before ultimately picking up the win. This was good.
Yeah, good, simple stuff. A good, needed establishing win for Melo. Good.
United States Championship, Julia defending against Alexa Bliss. This was announced shortly before SmackDown began, and Bliss got the title match here in an extremely nonsensical fashion. Multi-time women's champion, sure. She just lost in less than 4 minutes to Lash Legend, a rookie, last month. Now, to be fair, she was 7-2 when wrestling by herself in 2025 before that defeat. But the L is the last thing she took. And there was zero storyline reason for the match happening. That's really odd for WWE. There was also a poorly mic'd and executed backstage segment in which Julia screamed her lines and Kiana James whispered hers. So neither could be understood well from an audio standpoint. You know where you feel like, hey, a headache might be coming on, and then something happens that triggers the headache? This segment literally triggered a headache for me. They did fix the audio for USA Network in post, but it was worse watching live on Netflix. Julia said the title was back where it belonged, and Kiana said some shit about her being an asset and taking advantage of the market with her talent. It is astounding to me that WWE had the perfect opportunity to split them and reset Julia's booking, yet just carried on with the same dumb, ridiculous pairing. This was bad. Chris, I don't know if you want to talk about the pre-match, but here's your chance.
My only thing is that I've just noticed recently that Julia looks exactly like Nikki Bella in the face. You see it. She used to look like the Christina Aguilera to me. I don't know if she tweaked things a little bit or not.
That was because the braids that she had. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's less braids and I think maybe less stuff on her face or not. But she suddenly, like, if you like glance, she looks just like Nikki Bella.
So
that's my analysis.
So an Italian Japanese woman looks like a Mexican American woman. I don't know. Well, we'll have to see if that actually works. But yeah, people can tell us what they think and if they agree with you. Nia Jax and Lash Legend backstage tried to talk shit to Bliss because Charlotte Flair was not there, supposedly under the weather. Bliss cautioned Legend to drop Jax sooner than later because she would only get let down. That led me to assume the heels would interfere in the match. It went back and forth. Julia hit Arrivederci, but when she got caught in the Sister Abigail DDT, James distracted and Bliss hit her old DDT finisher. The loudest cheer was when Alexa punched Kiana, but she flew into the ring. With the referee distracted by that, Bliss got pushed off the ropes by Lash as she attempted Twisted Bliss. Julia landed the Northern Lights bomb to retain the title. Bliss took a punch and Annihilator after the bell. The match went 7 minutes. We got 4 of it outside of commercials. Julia did beat a former women's champion, so this reign is already better than the last one. But it did not take much for that to be the case. Julia was on her way to being defeated here, and it took entirely predictable double interference to retain. It wasn't even sensible. Lash should have been the one mad that Lexi got the match instead of her initially. She didn't even say that in the backstage setup. Fan reaction was moderate at best during and after the match. I'm glad Julia got the win, of course, but none of this is working. The wrestling was fine. I'm giving it a bad. This is so far below the standard that we have with the women on Raw.
You know, you're not going to believe this, but I'm going to think that a heel should have been able to get a victory over somebody notable without having cheating or interference. Are we sensing a trend here that pretty much every heel has to win by cheating or interference? Also, it makes Lash Alexa a bigger deal than the title, than Julia.
It does, and it makes Lash's win over Alexa worthless because Legend should have got the title match here because of it.
Yep. Details.
So what's your grade?
Bad.
Aldis back.
It is better than the previous reign, though. You are correct.
For 1 week, it's better, but not by much. Aldis backstage congratulated Jordynne Grace on signing with SmackDown when Chelsea Green interrupted, wanting a rematch. Green complained. Grace said that she wasn't going to be a diva. Alba Fire got in the way, and Aldis set the match. So we had Grace against Fire. Jordynne, which is kind of funny, Grace against Fire. Jordynne hit an inverted dominator early. Alba was given a tornado DDT, but Grace quickly hit a package powerbomb, only not covering because Chelsea distracted. So Jordynne ran Alba into Chelsea and hit beast mode, a torture rack bomb to win in less than 3 minutes. It was a nice debut from Grace, but another disgusting squash loss for Fire, who is far more talented than the way she is booked. She is precisely the type of opponent who could have given Jordynne a nice 7 to 8 minute match to establish her as a legitimate dominant wrestler. Instead, she got 3 minutes. It accomplished nothing. Frustrating and bad.
Do you remember when Jordynne Grace debuted in the Rumble a few years ago? And we were all like, holy crap, she looks awesome. Look at all this amazing stuff they're letting her do. Jordynne Grace looks like a star. And compare it to this, where we got weeks of backstage and whether she's going to join whatever roster. Mm-hmm. They debut her in Germany to no reaction
in terms of
Alba
in the
Fire.
ring. In the ring, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, against Alba Fire to get no time and to not even really do a ton of stuff to even highlight how awesome she is. So she doesn't feel like a big deal at all. I'm giving this a bad, not at all because of the women involved. I haven't followed Jordynne Grace as much in NXT, but she looks like $1 million and someone who should be just like impactful. And you're like, ugh, that was a tough start.
Well, she's being treated like nothing when it comes to Chelsea and Alba. But, I mean, don't forget, both of her main segments the last couple of weeks have been with Jade Cargill. And that's what happened next. So Jade confronted Grace on stage as she was exiting. Cargill said Jordynne didn't accomplish anything. She's not special. And Jade is that bitch. She dropped the mic. I mean, if I didn't call this months ago, Cargill turned heel and we're like, she looks incredible. She's beasting people. Like, this is what Jade should be. And she's just spamming that one effing line. Not even cutting a legitimate promo before saying it. One sentence, drop the line. That's it. She has done absolutely nothing as champion. There have been circumstances to that. But she was going to be booked against Michin and B-Fab anyway. And it's not just because those two people got injured that this is bordering on unacceptable with Jade. The fact is, she was feuding with Michin and B-Fab. That was absurd. Now, she's going face-to-face with Jordynne Grace, which is actually interesting. And all she can say is, I'm that bitch. This, as with all of these segments where that's all Jade does, and the way they are treating the WWE Women's Championship after having her beat Tiffany Stratton, who had only lost once as champion prior to facing Jade, it is absolutely, positively ugly.
0.0.
0.0, Mr. Blutarski.
It's so weird how Jade's gone backwards. You know, after they brought her back and things were going well, we thought she should have beaten Tiffany the first time. Was it a SummerSlam or something like that? And didn't. Mm-hmm. And now, like, yeah, Jade hasn't done anything since winning the belt. Like, she's not even like winning a bunch of matches and stuff like that.
She's irrelevant.
And her and Jordynne Grace going face to face should have been like a holy shit moment, but it wasn't at all earned, both by what they've done with Jade, both how they debuted Jordynne in the ring here, both doing it where they did. And it's just the lack of oomph for everything around this is a result of the lack of proper planning to get to it.
Yep.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
ugly.
The SmackDown women's division was handcuffed in a major way over the last year. We've talked about it. Bianca Belair got injured. Naomi, they moved over to Raw partially because of that, and so on and so forth. Moving Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss together, they have no main event. They finally pulled the trigger on Jade. Like, they've done nothing with her. It's now to the point, like, I'm expecting her to drop the title at WrestleMania, but they have 3 months, just like they have with Drew McIntyre. And they had more than that. They had 5 months with Jade. But now they have 3 months remaining to actually make her look like a legitimate champion so that she's able to drop the strap at WrestleMania and not be killed from it. Because if not, if she only defends the title once between now and WrestleMania, and then she loses in her second real defense, you're going to say, what's Jade Cargill? She's absolutely nothing. So they are in the shits with this right now. And I know people say, well, Jade's not as good as WWE thought she was. No, WWE knew exactly what they were getting with Jade. Someone who looks the part, who when they're in the ring, they're strong and they can beast people around, but is not a work rate wrestler and is not an incredible promo. But you can book around that. And you know what? When she was teaming with Bianca Belair and when she was cutting babyface promos, she was doing pretty well. And then the creative changed over on SmackDown, and it's been downhill since, not just for her, but the entire women's division. So on behalf of You're Ugly,
that is one big pile of shit.
And that also just goes to the entire booking of women on SmackDown. We can say there have been improvements for the men the last 2 weeks since the start of the year. That has not been the case for the women. This is extremely frustrating. Kit Wilson stopped Aldis from entering his office, saying he's trying to stop toxicity on SmackDown, but he wasn't even given a chance to know his opponent last week, so how can he do that? Aldis basically closed the door in his face. Cardona was then interviewed backstage. He explained how reinventing himself is what got him back to WWE, even though there was nothing significant to this segment. It was nice having both of these guys on the show. I'm glad they got screen time. Wilson had a really nice response from the crowd, despite being backstage. He should have gotten in the ring in one way or another. It probably would have been better for Trick Williams to beat Kit Wilson instead of Rey Fenix. That way he could have gotten a big win. But alas, it was nice seeing these guys. So we had Wyatt 6 against MFT in that 8-man match. WWE again botched the end of the 6 entrance, cutting off the song at the wrong point. It's been a year. They still can't get it right. They used to get it right every single time. This is an unforced presentation error. Eric Rowan got a huge pop as he wrecked shop on a hot tag. Tala Tonga ultimately leveled him and chokeslammed Dexter Lumis. Uncle Howdy and Solo Sikoa then went head-to-head. Howdy countered Samoan Spike with a Uranagi, but after Sikoa avoided Sister Abigail, Tama Tonga tagged in and took a Uranagi. Howdy put in the mandible claw on JC Mateo, who was illegal. As Solo grabbed the lantern to taunt him, MFT took advantage by ganging up on Howdy, with Tama hitting Cutthroat for the win. Solo then stole the lantern afterward. Better match than I expected. MFT needed the win in order to get another tag team title chance, hopefully with real people contending this time. Sikoa taunting with the lantern was an interesting twist considering how heavily he's been leaning into discussing Bray Wyatt and his legacy. Bo Dallas, he has gained significant weight, by the way. He was moving real slow in this match. Overall, I'm giving it a light good, but it's a light good nonetheless.
So I didn't like that they started this match so quickly. You know, now that we're finally doing the 4-on-4 match we've been waiting for, I expected we would get all 4 in the ring looking at each other. Hopefully the crowd gets really into it, and then you fight.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, like, the music ends, the Wyatts are there. I think it was Loomis just like runs into the ring, and then we're off wrestling a match. So it was like a really weird way to start the match. And then the match itself, otherwise, I thought was fine. There were good spots. I enjoyed it. And then ending with a lantern distraction is so frustrating. And for at least Tama Tonga getting the pin with the cutthroat.
Yeah, that was positive.
Better than like one of the others doing something. But it still felt like Solo pinning Howdy would have been the way to go here. I presume this is probably still going on, but the thought process that Uncle Howdy is just kind of like always kind of one step ahead of you in the way he's thinking, and then just losing a match because someone picked up the lantern just felt very inconsistent and frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a light good, like you said. There's just a few things in here that, like, a few little things that didn't need to happen. Take that away, and I think you got a really good thing going here.
It's a consistent issue, especially with SmackDown. It happens on Raw a bit too, but it's a consistent issue with SmackDown. As we've said many times, this feud would be much more palatable if the titles were not part of it. DIY is done. Motor City Machine Guns and the Street Profits have disappeared. This was another week where Fraxium didn't wrestle. SmackDown is 3 hours now, and through 2 weeks, the division has not been spotlighted. Hopefully it changes after the Royal Rumble and we take it into WrestleMania. I hate to end on such a sour note, but Chris, watching this match, I could not help but think how it really only made sense for WWE to employ maybe half of the people that were in the ring at that time. Like, both the Six and MFT are basically dead as factions. The Six, due to their booking, MFT never worked as constructed. It's just a pair of dreadful groups dragging down other guys in them who could thrive, and dragging down SmackDown as a whole because we have them on TV and not teams we actually want to see wrestle.
Yep. So Solo and Tama Tonga, like, Solo is really good. We know that he can do a lot of things. Tama Tonga was getting over with that type of stuff. Like, he had something there. Then we just kept adding guys. You start losing track of whose name is what. And the thought was it was going to build up into this big thing. And instead, it's just like in the middle of a SmackDown, like in Europe.
Solo, Tama Tonga, maybe Uncle Howdy operating individually with the Bray elements, maybe Dexter Lumis, because
they're just way too slow on this stuff. It drags out forever, and they don't just do the thing. They got to pull the trigger quicker on things, on a lot of things.
100% right, man. Now, that's the end of the show. I mean, that's every single segment that happened. But what I noticed, and I mentioned this just a moment ago, coming out of Raw and SmackDown this week, we went through a whole week without a single person declaring for the Royal Rumble. Now, I'm sure that's going to happen in mass next week. But as we tape this show, we are 18 days out with 0 men and 0 women announced. So I'm going to set a couple of lines here, and let's go over under with predictions. That way we can circle back by the time the instant analysis episode rolls out and see, did WWE go over or under these numbers? I'll ask you, you give me your numbers, and I'll answer on the back end. Number one, over under 14.5 men and women pre-announced for their respective matches. And you can give two different answers if you want.
If I had my way, it would be 0. I would love to have nobody announce for it. I'm going to take the over in both of them because it's how it typically goes. It reminds me, we have these Marvel teasers coming out for the next Avengers movie next December.
It's in December.
And I'm just like,
yeah.
And I'm just like mad about it. I'm like, why are you telling me the X-Men are going to be in this movie? I'm going to see the movie. It's an Avengers movie. We're all going to see it. I would love to not be spoiled half of the movie before I go and see it. It's the same thing with the Royal Rumble. Don't tell me anybody. It's the Rumble. We're going to watch it.
I swear to you, I had the same reaction this morning. I think the teaser started at the end of 2025 in December when it was a year out. There have now been 4 of them or so. And it's like Steve Rogers is going to be in Avengers Doomsday, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Black Panther. No, stop. Like, there's a lot of people who are fanatics about Marvel, just like, wrestling. And they'll find that stuff out, that they're all part of the taping schedule. They're going to be in the movie. And if you want to give out a couple of the people who are going to be in the movie, then that's okay. We're 11 months out from this film. And every week there's a new teaser trailer telling us who's going to be in the movie. I'm losing my mind about it. It's ridiculous. I'm glad you mentioned that.
It's spoiler culture run amok.
In
movies and in pro wrestling.
Unbelievable. Okay, so you're over on both matches, you said?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to say under for the women because usually there's fewer pre-announced for them. And I'll be pessimistic. I'll say over 14.5 for the men. I think more than half are there. Last year, I think it was on the verge of being below half. And then on the pre-show, they announced, or they showed a graphic that had like 7 additional names in it. So it ended up being like 22 of the 30.
There's been some years where they've announced like 25.
Oh, there have been years. Yeah, they did 24, 25, 26 of them. It's ridiculous. I hope it's under for both, but I agree with you, over for the men. Second question. Over 2.5 spoiled returns. I am not talking about Jacob returning to TV and being involved in a storyline. I mean specifically spoiling that someone is returning in the Royal Rumble match, akin to what happened when Cody Rhodes was coming back from his pectoral and Charlotte Flair coming back from her knee injury last year. They spoiled weeks in advance that they would be in those matches. Over or under 2.5 spoiled returns. And I'm going to say this is combined, men and women combined.
I'm going to take the over because I think there are so many people who could come back around the Rumble. Are we counting like an Obafemi possibility, or it's got to be a true return?
No, I would say a true return. So like Chad Gable would be an example.
Yeah, I mean like Gable, LA Knight, there's a lot of people, Bianca Belair, like there's so many.
There's a lot.
That I think they're going to want to save the biggest ones and they will tell us some of the less big ones, which I'm going to hate when they do that. But anyway.
I will be optimistic on this one. I will say under 2.5. That still allows them to spoil too. But I don't think they're going to go crazy. I believe they're going to save as many as they possibly can for the Royal Rumble match itself. But we will circle back to these over-unders, these lines that Silver King created on our Royal Rumble Instant Analysis podcast at the end of the month. This, though, is the end of the episode. And we did go long. We didn't just give you a 2 for Tuesday. We gave you a deep cut 2 for Tuesday with a 2-hour edition of the 2025 Getting Over Awards, a.k.a.
the Meaties.
And of course, this WWE episode. We will be back for a third time this week on Thursday, talking NXT and AEW. Make sure you do not miss any performance-enhancing audio. Find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, do not forget to click the link tree in our social media profiles. Join the brand new Getting Over Slack. And in there are plenty of links. You can shop WWE on Fanatics. You can subscribe to buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. That does require you to remember.
I happen to love the number 5.
I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. I just told you what to do. Go to buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts. Support us as we continue to support you. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. You can also find that link in our link tree at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. When you follow us there, you get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. On YouTube, when you subscribe, you can listen to our episodes and you can watch full-length video interviews. Also, do not forget,
It's all about Defy.
so head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Vintage, that was a lot of performance-enhancing audio coming out of our mouths into all of our listeners' ear holes on this 2 for Tuesday. So let's wrap it up. On behalf of Vintage, this is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.